Hey guys, I am here waiting on Mills, and we are going to be talking about the news that just came out like 2 hours ago that uh, Donald Trump apparently ordered a missile strike on
Hey,
Syria. Oh, okay, Mills. Hey,
hey, what's
what's up?
up?
Nothing much. Just trying to give the breakdown, I guess, of the crazy shit that's been going on the past 2 hours. Yeah. So, like I was saying, as far as we know, Trump has ordered a missile strike on Syria after, or in retaliation to the chemical attacks that Assad was. Is it Assad? Is that the leader of Syria? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. That he had against civilians earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know your opinion, because I mean I was driving home and literally arguing with myself about what I think about this. What's your, I guess, initial
Yeah.
take?
Um, well, initial thoughts. Of course, as you know, I think just a couple of days ago, Trump said he wanted absolutely nothing. He wanted to stay out of Syria and not interfere, which
Right.
was interesting because he had no problem propping up and being close buddies with Putin.
Yeah.
And then, of course, these videos come out, and now all of a sudden we're going to send missiles over there, and I guess senselessly bomb random parts of Syria, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but I guess we're going to just bomb the shit out of Syria. I guess because of a viral video, which
Yeah.
which, but
That's what it sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah. It's like I'm reading. I was reading some of Trump's quotes, and he's like, family died, babies died. That's bad, and it makes me grumpy. And I get this almost feel, and I don't know for sure but that he's trying to score political points by doing this. Um,
Right. Well, my initial reaction to that is, when you like talk about like politics, and especially like international, like geopolitics in particular, it's not really a terrain that's usually ruled on by morality. And whether you like one thing I thought that was interesting is that whether you like agree with it or not, like Trump actually, I think, was making, like, he thought he was doing the right thing. He actually thought he was making a moral decision to go in, even though he was going on with like as little information as possible. And that's actually like kind of a break from, like the usual boring shit we see on a daily basis. But
yeah, and I think that's the least cynical way to view it. But even if we do grant him that, it is very impulsive.
oh
Almost like
yeah,
Bush administration or Clinton administration impulsive, where we're just going to go out and just bomb the shit out of countries because we don't like what they're doing.
it's even
And
less than that, because I mean, at least the Bush and Clinton administrations had like an agenda. I mean, given the precedent that he said, I really don't think he has any plan or anything going into this about what's actually going to happen next.
yeah, it does seem very very poorly thought out. And of course, you have to take into consideration, the chances of Assad retaliating or making an example by continuing to bomb these people. Not that necessarily would have lessened it, but it's going to provoke it. And you got to really think shit like this through. I mean, not to mention the missiles that could kill innocent civilians. I mean, what the fuck's the difference between killing someone with a barrel bomb and then killing them with a missile?
Right.
It's like, why? It's it's like we get all upset, and we should get upset over what happened in Syria, but it's like the what was it, like the hundreds of thousands of people we killed in Iraq over a needless war, or like the bunch of people we killed in Yugoslavia and the homes we destroyed in the 90s. It's like we are absolute pros at doing it, and we do
Right.
it for the stupidest shit.
Right.
um,
But I mean, if you like, because I mean, this is why I was arguing with myself. Because I mean, if you look at shit like historically, right? Because I mean, the shit that was going on with Syria was like absolutely fucking egregious. And like the thing that I go to is like World War II and the Holocaust, right? And the thing the immediate thing we always talk about is that America should have gotten involved in that shit sooner. Like that it was terrible that it was going on, and it's a fucking travesty that it took that long to save them. Now it may be in like 50 years, like there are the future people of the world will be saying the same shit about us. That the same thing, that the shit going on in Syria and the shit going on in North Korea is fucking egregious, and it's been immoral for us to lay back as long as we've had. So I mean, so on one side of it, I think I have that thought, but on the other side as well is that well, this isn't fucking Nazi Germany, and the enemy isn't as clearly discernible as Nazi Germany, and we don't have the same goals as we did in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I certainly see where that emotion side comes from, but you have to make sure that you do something that is actually going to accomplish what you set out. If it's removing stabilizing that country, or removing an evil regime and replacing it with something stable, it, you know, it, it's like World War II. For to use that as an example, of course, we have hindsight, but just remember the previous war, the Great War, right? We
Right.
got ourselves involved into a conflict that we had no fucking business getting involved in. And we basically fucked up Europe for no reason. And we fucked up Germany for no reason. And then after that, we got
World War
involved
II.
in we got involved in a cozy relationship with Joseph Stalin, and created a lot of resentment, especially among the German population, which is part of what facilitated World War II.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, it actually makes a lot of sense why we stayed out as long as we did in the Second War, because it's we got to make sure that this is something really affecting us, and we got to make sure that things we don't make things worse than we are, because yeah, I do kind of want to fucking murder Assad, but what are these bombings going to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at with it, because I mean I do think like on a purely like going on like as purely a moral basis as possible, I do think it actually is a moral decision to say we need to stop this fucking gassing and stop the killing of all these fucking people. But in the realm of like military and governments, like you have to you can't operate like they just don't operate on a moral level, you know.
Right.
Like, and so like you have to look at it almost on a like a utilitarian basis of like what's going to give us the most pros and the most cons. And so I mean from that like it's a fucking weird situation that I don't really have the answer for.
Yeah. Well, I think no, and yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. I think that certainly, April 6th was not the time to make the decision based on stuff we saw on April 4th.
Yeah.
You don't decide within a couple of days to just start bombing this shit and completely destabilizing the Eastern Hemisphere. I mean, you got to think shit through.
By the way,
Yeah.
Paul Joseph Watson sent a meme that showed that the apparently the U.S. entered World War One on April 6th, 1917,
I
so
saw
exactly
that.
100 years ago.
I haven't snoped that yet. I'm not sure if
I googled it, so apparently it's
it is. Oh, very good. Wow,
Google verified at least. It's fucking
that is
Illuminati shit. The
that is
fucking
fucking
global.
weird. Yeah, it's it's. I mean, I don't want to say it's very similar, but it's like we're developing this cozy relationship with a brutal dictator, where we're
Yeah,
getting involved.
I titled this video "World War III is upon us" with all exclamation points. So, but actually, I don't think it's going to be World War III. If anything, it's probably going to be another Iraq situation.
Probably so. Yeah. Well, I'll say this. The one thing that I supported Trump over Hillary was his stance that we were going to stay out of shit like this. Like, at least that's what he said. Now, I didn't necessarily fucking trust him because he's a liar, but that was his stance that I supported. But
Okay,
now,
and that's the big thing, and I guess we can talk about it now. Like in the past 2 hours, the left and the right have completely shifted their fucking views on war, and it's giving me fucking whiplash because they are now like on the complete opposite side of what they were arguing yesterday.
can you remind me what they were arguing yesterday? I
Because
didn't.
exactly, because like you said, Trump supporters were the
Oh,
anti-war isolationists,
yeah.
and the Democrats were saying, we're crying out of all these moral evils that were going on in these countries that and Trump was he's embedded with Putin and he's not going to do anything. So now Trump has done something, and now everyone now they're losing their fucking minds, and the right to like there are a lot of fucking pissed off Trump people right now. It's kind of
What were
it's crazy to watch.
I mean, were these Democrats saying that the way that Trump should deal with it is just to go?
I mean, they're basically taking the position that Clinton took, which was, I mean, Clinton supported the idea of missile strikes.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
and she's wrong on that front.
Right.
Now, personally, yeah, I don't. Obviously, I know more people than I know politicians. Most of my liberal circuits, circle doesn't support that. But yeah, they're
I mean, yeah, I'm thinking of several like several activists and shit that I'm just seeing on Twitter, but yeah, I mean it's fucking crazy, and it's more, I guess, staying in line with the party and just staying, pro Trump or anti Trump than actually having a principled position on something. Um, because I mean now, because now that, I mean, if we stay in Syria, the position of the left is going to be that we need to get out, right? And I mean, and so all this shit they've been saying for the past few months about um that Trump, all the shit with Putin and all the shit that, there are these things that need to be intervened with, all these terrible human rights crises. Like they're going to basically say the opposite of that,
right.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, they will.
it's gonna be
But
fucking whiplash.
yeah, it's
It
just
happens so fast. It's almost like hard. It's hard. It's crazy to actually see it in progress, like from the beginning to the end.
right. Well, it just. I mean, it just goes back to like the late '90s to the early 2000s. It's one thing that people don't remember about Clinton is he dispatched the military overseas more than 40 times during his presidency.
Yeah,
Before that, I think outside of war, I think it had been done a total of like 5 or 6 times combined within the first 41 presidents. I mean, no one, I mean, everyone kind of has rose-colored glasses about what the '90s were and how great it was and how we stayed out of everyone's business, and we really didn't.
yeah,
Remember, we bombed Iraq in '98. Of course, you remember the disastrous Black Hawk Down that Clinton decided to turn from a diplomatic mission to a invasion mission, and he ended up getting half of his military killed. Of course, he destroyed the nation of Yugoslavia. He was constantly, I mean, he used the military a lot, and no one really acknowledges that. But it's like
right.
Bush was the warmonger, and he was. But yeah, it's almost kind of like a repeat of what we saw.
I mean, yeah, it's fucking, it's propaganda at this point. I mean, it's not helpful if you actually care
Yeah,
about the actual issue.
yeah. I mean, I think I have, like, I'm pretty confident in my position.
Yeah,
Like, war, I don't think
war's bad.
war is bad, and you shouldn't. I don't think morality is it's not a accurate basis to determine whether or not to start a war. Just because war is so devastating, it's not a matter of do you support the bad guys or do you not support the bad guys. No, it's like, are you going to make sure that your war is not going to completely fuck up an entire region and open up, ploys for major terrorist groups and evil people, exactly what George Bush did. Um, yeah, he
Yeah.
replaced the dick as a dictator, but he somehow managed to make the Middle East even worse than it was
Right.
prior.
Well, and that's something that I've always maintained about the Iraq War is that, that it was it was like the way it was handled out was was fucking rolled out was bad, was like terrible. But there was a moral position in there, which was that Saddam Hussein was conducting a fucking genocide on the Kurds in northern Iraq, and in either the Sunnis or the Shia, whichever one that he hated. Like like the
Yes,
shit he was doing was fucking egregious, and
right.
from that perspective, like, it was completely right thing to do, but it was, but like, that's the only that's literally the only argument you can make, because there's a million other arguments that why it was a bad decision to go in.
I mean, there's morality is not a sufficient enough. It's not sufficient in of itself to start a war. Um, I mean, it's simple.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's because I'll never forget. Like, Bill O'Reilly was on The View 10 something years ago or whatever, and like he was debating the war with Rosie O'Donnell, which that's great fucking television, right? Bill O'Reilly and Rosie O'Donnell debating politics, so two
Yeah.
minds. But I mean, Bill was kept. He asked this dumb question. He said, "Do you want the U.S. to win the war or not?" And Rosie was like, "Well, I want us to get us out of there before a fucking 18-year-old stop." Or more 18-year-olds are killed for no reason. I was like, just answer the question. Do you want to win the war or not? And it was just this ridiculous, non-existent dichotomy. It's like, pulling us out ending this quagmire means that we lost the war, then yeah, I don't mind that. This isn't my football team. I don't really care if America has a perfect fucking record.
That's
I
more
want
that's more like nationalism than the morality, though, because I think both of them were arguing from a moral basis.
yeah, well,
Um,
yeah, and
like
I do
like
think
like with the idea that like I think it was probably the right thing to do to go into Germany for World War II just for what was going on with the Jews and the Holocaust.
yeah,
I think that was like an appropriate decision,
yeah. Although it's kind of
even if
interesting.
soldiers were killed.
The funny thing is with the World War II. Now, obviously, Roosevelt probably had more information than a layperson. But my grandmother told me that she did not initially believe the stories about the Holocaust during the war. A lot of people thought it was propaganda,
Yeah.
and it was understandable because it's hard to fathom that as late as the 20th century they're doing it. I
Yeah.
would say though, obviously the moral thing is an issue, but I think an even bigger issue than that is the fact that a fascist dictatorship, three of them to be specific, were were becoming a legitimate threat to us and, of course, to democracy. And, of course, Pearl Harbor only exemplified that. And so, even in that case, our own survival um, was at stake there. And so, of course, obviously, the morality plays a big part to it, but there are certainly other factors
Yeah.
as well.
It's weird. I go in like some weird corners of YouTube, and like there are motherfuckers who still deny that the Holocaust happened.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
Fucking crazy.
it's like, dude, I can't conspiracy theory. Like, I can't watch like a moon video on YouTube anymore. Well, I do, but I want to go down and see people show in awe, like awe of the moon, and instead they're like, the wind's blowing in the flag, and they won't
Right.
change their minds regardless of how these things are explained to them. But that especially goes with the Holocaust too. Like, it's not about getting anything right. It's just a religion and agenda. They will just ignore anything that is
Yeah.
presented to them.
Well, here's an interesting thing, because this is a theory that Glenn Greenwald started like a few hours ago, that Trump's actually playing like 8D chess, and this is just a feint. This is actually coordination with the Russians to make it look like they're not in cahoots with each other.
Wait, say it again.
That it was actually uh, like a stunt, like this is all just like an attempt to make us believe that Trump and the Russians are not in cahoots with each other, basically. Glenn Greenwald said that on Twitter like a few hours ago.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I saw that. So, like, it's not a real bombing. They're just
Right.
no,
It's a
forget.
stunt. Like they're actually working together to
Yeah, yeah. That does seem a little extreme, but Trump is at the hip with Putin, and he's willing. I believe he's willing to do almost anything it takes to show that he's not, even though he is. Although I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that that's the only reason why he's doing this. I do think a lot of it's politically motivated, though.
well, I mean, I think that ends that narrative almost, that Trump is sucking Putin's dick 24/7 with this.
I mean, that's
Apparently they did notify Russia beforehand, but
yeah.
still,
But I mean, who's to say that Putin just doesn't give a shit about Assad anymore? Like, it's I know he's been. I know, like, they've been together, but I mean, uh, like, is it really past? Like, why would Putin even care about Assad at this point? Or what? Like, why is it really important to him that he is?
because I mean, Assad has an alliance with Putin, but I mean, I guess
Yeah,
Assad is such damaged goods at this point. I mean, the argument could be
yeah. I
made
mean,
that,
because
we can
Putin.
get a new Assad in that,
Exactly, and well, I mean, I think
that is not
that's an
actually
interesting
possible.
point, though. When you have kind of this unrest, and I don't know if this will result in an overthrowing of the government, but generally, when you overthrow the government, you replace it in chaos, and even someone maybe even more cruel and um, authoritative. So, um, I mean, I don't think Putin is, or I don't think Russia is afraid of that Syria will um, dominate them. I don't think take them over.
Yeah,
Or
well, I mean, what do you think Syria's response is going to be?
what I think it's going to be. probably you will see like a denial that they had anything to do with the bombings, and meanwhile they're planning new attacks, trying to maybe try to make an example out of us by gassing more people. I'm kind of expecting them to respond violently and make the situation worse.
Yeah.
That's why I think particularly this bombing is very dangerous, because I think it will result in a lot more lives lost.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
mean, I mean, it sucks because I mean, they seem to be so close to getting ISIS the fuck out of there and
Yeah,
actually stabilizing shit a little bit. But I mean, one thing, I mean, it was a fucking headline, but uh, the more I've seen, it seems to be true that the actually world leaders are actually kind of in support of this of the missile launch. Um, like I think there was even one that I saw that said Trudeau was in support of it. Um, I guess as a condemnation of the gassing.
yeah. That's kind of unfortunate. Did it say world leaders off the top of your head, or we don't want to get caught in the
It
weeds?
just said like all the Arab from the Arab world to Canada, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't agree with them. I think, I mean, if that's what they're saying, it's again confusing with the
I
morality.
mean, there is kind of a grim dark side or a grim upside to it, which is Syria can't get much more destabilized than it is right now.
It can't.
Like we when we got into Iraq, we fucked that up ourselves. But I mean, Syria is almost a blank slate at
Yeah,
this point,
yeah.
of
Yeah,
literal rubble.
you're definitely right on that. You're definitely right on that respect. And but I guess my response to that is, if a fire has completely engulfed the house and the house is beyond repair, I just justify it by tossing gasoline on it because it can't get any worse, right?
Yeah,
But I've lost a can of gasoline and I didn't do anything. It's even if I grant that we couldn't possibly make it worse, we're wasting a lot of money and we're wasting a lot of time. That's
right.
best scenario in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, they still have people that fucking live there. I mean, something has to be. I mean, that was another thing. With that I saw that someone said, well, why? Because someone made the argument that someone had to fucking do this. That I mean, this shit has been going on in Syria for years, and like it had to stop eventually. Someone had to fucking call them out on it. And the response to that is, well, why does the U.S. have to be the ones to fucking do that?
Right. And why does that have to involve military? I mean, that's the mentality of a 3-year-old. Like, someone's got to do something about this.
Well, I mean,
So,
Obama. I mean, Obama's method was not using military. He was saying, there's a red line you don't cross, and when they crossed it, he basically didn't do anything.
well, yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I don't know what an
I don't
appropriate
know the
response would
yeah
be.
yeah. I don't know the answer. Um, I don't. I just. I don't know.
Yeah, and
It's
I mean, there were super conservatives who are like, "Fuck yeah,
well,
you
right.
got
Yeah,
him."
exactly. I've got your diplomacy right here, bitch. And it's yeah. It's just something needs to be done. I don't know what needs to be done. We know this is not the way to do things because we've done it before and we've made already bad situations worse. And I know that's a very elementary way of looking at it, but just because we don't know the right thing to do doesn't mean that we should just keep doing what we know the wrong thing to do is. Um, I just, and I mean, you certainly, at the very least, take more than 2 fucking days to figure out what you're gonna do. It's like, I
Yeah,
don't.
from what it sounds like, he literally just watched a video of
It,
a dead Syrian kid and was like, nope, we're gonna make fucking Syria great again."
right, exactly. And this just, I mean, he's deserved that reputation. Impulsive, childish, and doesn't think things through. And so when he does something like this, we're not confident that this is going to end very well. And we have a good reason to believe it.
I
Um,
mean, I don't know if there is what the right response actually is for this, because both sides seem to be lose to me, because we can, if Trump actually did what he said he was going to do and become an isolationist, then it can be reasonably assumed that Syria would have just had a way like thousands of more casualties. And if we do go in and actually, and do what we did in fucking Iraq and try to rebuild the country into, in the image of America, that's going to cost time and money, and it's going to cause the resentment of the people who live there and
Yeah.
more problems in it than it's worth. So I mean, like I don't like I don't know if there is a right answer.
Well, I think the first thing you can do is just cut the shit with the rhetoric on Syrian refugees and how we should make sure that none of them get in or turn them away because they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, that's kind of an amazing hypocrisy that I didn't
right.
think
Well, it's
about.
like they're all bad, but like, oh wait, these poor Syrians. Oh wait, I thought they were all bad. I think
They're
ways
good
to
people. I just don't want them here.
yeah, exactly. But now you're bombing because you care. I thought you said they were terrible people, so they deserve it, right? It's like don't take that out of context, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, but it's if we find ways to encourage these people to come across and not push them away, and even maybe bend the rules with some conditions, that's the best way we know how. It's like how do we neutralize the power of the cartel in Mexico? You know, we try to just keep our borders open and free, and if people come here illegally, we find ways to grant them amnesty, with some conditions and stuff, and just kind of making that a safer place to move back and forth. And it's not perfect, but it's when this American exceptionalism, this America's good at everything, it's this black and white narrative certainly doesn't help matters. But yeah, I think that's the very first thing you do. Trump just comes up and says, "You know what? I learned I was fucking wrong about these refugees. They're not these horrible people."
Well, I mean, I think the argument for both the border and the refugees is not like the legal people. It's the fringe elements they're trying to actually like for the Mexicans, it's the fucking murderous drug cartels or whatever, and for the refugees, it's the ISIS members who are kind of moving among their ranks.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
terms of, but I mean, in terms of Syria, like I don't see it's such a fucking war torn country. I don't think that ISIS is planning these like long term operations where they're like, okay, we're gonna. Like, I know we're at war here, but we need a few of you guys to pretend like you're a refugee and go to America. Like that could, I don't, it may happen in like some other countries. I don't know, but it's not gonna happen in fucking Syria. Like they're all fighting for their fucking lives over there. It's a fucking shit show.
right. I think it's a problem that doesn't exist and has never been the result of a terrorist threat. So we shouldn't make mass spread policies. It's like I mean the people who orchestrated 9/11, they weren't illegal immigrants. They didn't sneak across a boat. They didn't get in because of a shitty vetting process. They did everything legally. I mean, that's how terrorists work. They don't want to. They want to be as lawful as they possibly can because they want to carry out what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean that's my main problem with the refugee ban, and I mean the main way they've been like attacking America is by radicalizing like dumb 18-year-olds online, and teaching them about Islam and making them
Exactly.
bomb shit, and that's how the Boston bombing happened
Yeah.
and shit like that. So
Exactly. And you make that great point too, because it just assumes that no terrorist can be born in the US.
right,
and they have to be brown, right? We don't consider the kid who shot up the Charleston church a terrorist because he's white. He was just a murderer. But if he
right,
was brown, it's a terrorist threat. It's like no, they're both about the same.
yeah, that
Um,
dude was a terrorist for sure.
yeah, he was absolutely a
Get on
terrorist.
the roof.
Um, Now it's like there's some instances like everyone tried to like equate what was it them in North Dakota or Montana, the people who were took over the government building at gunpoint, like they called them terrorists. I actually just called them jamokes. I
Yeah,
didn't think they belonged in the same thing. I think they were just fucking morons. But anyway, that's a whole different discussion.
yeah. I just
It,
got
it,
an AP report. Apparently there were some deaths in the missile strikes.
yeah,
Uh,
wonderful.
they're not confirming how many yet.
Yeah, but I'm glad we did this thing because we obviously accomplished a lot. So that's great that we just threw those missiles down, I guess.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like what's the difference between what the Syrian officials did to all these people and then what we're doing? Like we're doing the exact. We may not have the same intentions, but we're doing the exact same thing.
What
It's
was the first? Wait, I missed the first thing you said.
well, I'm just saying, what's the difference between what we're doing and what Syria's doing? I mean, we may have
Okay.
different intentions, but yeah, we're still murdering people, innocent people. Well, I don't know. Maybe they
I mean, there's
maybe
a big difference. I don't know. I think there's a difference there. I mean, intentionally gassing civilians, and I mean that's one could be considered war, I think, and the other could just be considered terrorism
yeah, but
by a government.
yeah. Well, I do think if you start a war, starting an attack without a real good reason to, it's still very immoral. I mean, it may not be deliberately malicious and cruel, but it's sort of like when we deliberately ignore how little these bombings accomplish and we go ahead and do it anyway for approval ratings and to satisfy the racist white supremacist conservatives on Facebook. You know, I do think that's immoral. Um, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Let's see what the chat's been saying. Nixon back in the chat. What's up, Nick?
Can you remind me what your channel is again?
Oh wait, I will send you the link.
Yeah, somebody look. I see you have your Corey Vaughn channel, but that's something else.
Really? How do you see that?
Well, I typed in your name on YouTube to see if I
Oh,
could
really?
find it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's like my basic fucking channel.
I got you. Yeah.
Trey Romance said, that there might be like an underlying reason for why these missiles were launched. Maybe not just, maybe it was like oil or some shit. What do you think?
It's not out of the question. I can't really.
I don't think it's
Uh,
oil.
what?
I don't think it's oil.
You don't think it's oil? I mean, I don't know like the commodity specifically, but I'm sure there's some underlying political financial interest. Like, for example, I am convinced that oil had a huge part to do with why we were in Iraq, even if it wasn't overtly said. It's just like we don't give a shit about the Syrian refugees until all of a sudden we get to bomb and maybe potentially seize more control over the resources. It's to me that's just too coincidental.
Did we? I mean, this is my ignorance. Did we actually like get more oil after Iraq?
I
I mean, Saudi Arabia has the most fucking oil.
I don't
We don't
know.
do shit with Saudi Arabia.
I don't. Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess Saudi Arabia, we have this odd, interesting relationship where we can kind of do business with them a little bit more, which is weird because it kind of goes into the moral question where, you know, Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan are horrible, but Saudi Arabia, for whatever reason, doesn't outrage us quite as much, even though they are just as fucking reprehensible.
Yeah,
Um,
more reprehensible, probably.
right, probably more. Yeah.
I actually met like a Saudi Arabian um, in college. Like I was at a bar and I was like smoking a hookah, and like he came next to me, and like I started the conversation. I put the link to the channel in the chat, by the way, the group
I
chat,
got it. I got it. Thank
and
you.
like I just kind of started talking to him, and like he was telling me, and like I really got into like the mind of a Saudi Arabian because I was like, yeah, so how do you like live in America? And he was like, I was really sad because I went to a grocery store the other day, and there was this woman, this old lady who was putting who was bagging groceries, and she was putting the groceries in her car by herself, and it made me almost cry because she didn't have a man to to help her with it. She didn't have like a father or a brother or a son to do anything to help her. Like this lady was by herself, and so like my mind obviously went to like, well, yeah, but like, don't you guys not allow women to drive over there? And he was like, "Oh yeah, but women they don't have the brains for that. They don't have the mind for that." I was like, "All right, well, I guess we're past this conversation."
Yeah, well, that's interesting though to be able to meet someone like that. Um, I just like the worst part, you know, when I think of Egypt and Saudi Arabia specifically, all the things coming out where a woman gets murdered after being raped or executed because they're considered unclean.
Yeah, that shit's sad.
Yeah, which by the way is not very different, too different from the Bible. In the Old Testament, in Exodus or in whatever book, it outlines that if someone rapes a woman, they get to marry their attacker.
Yeah, I
And
mean, Islam gets a lot of their shit from the Old Testament.
say again?
Islam gets a lot of their shit from the Old Testament, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
Um,
Although I think they're like more prone to actually like take that shit seriously, just because when you look at like the Quran, the Hadith, it's literally like the Bible is like like a bunch of stories that like contradict each other, but the Quran and the Hadith are like a set of rules where you're like, you do this, and it's okay to do this, and it's not okay to do this, and so on and so on. You know, it's just like the way it's laid out.
right. Well, it's the Quran is kind of its own. It's its own level of reprehensibility. I don't think it's necessarily better or worse than the Bible. Um,
I just think there's like less room for interpretation in it, because if you read it,
yeah,
like there's just like none.
there is, but you should see like some of the more mainstream Islamic, the more Muslims, they do the same sort of backflips like you do in the Bible. It's a lot of where Muhammad, or in the book where it talks about marrying multiple kids, under women under 13, and Muslims are like, oh, no, it doesn't say that at all. The Quran is about love and happiness, and he didn't really mean that stuff. And it's like,
Muhammad straight up married a 13-year-old. Like,
yeah, but it's like you have those things, but it's either the Quran didn't really say that, or the Bible, or it was appropriate at the time, or it was a different time and it was justified. Um, and when people talk about, like, because I don't dislike Muslims, but I do
yeah,
have a
me either.
strong hatred for Islam, and there's a difference because you see a lot of people correctly pointing out the problems in the Bible, yet they completely ignore what's in the Quran. And if you call out Islam for being a reprehensible religion, that means you hate all Muslims. Truth is, I don't believe most Muslims are like that. I think a lot of Muslims are like Christians, where they've never really read the Quran. All they know about it is growing up, like what they've heard about love and sharing. And then when they're finally met with the harsh realities of their book, they spend the rest of their life doing backflips to justify it for whatever reason. And so I think both of those religions, and most other religions for that matter, are very similar.
Well, I think I mean it's cultural relativism, which is why it's treated differently from Christianity, because it's a different culture. You have to respect a different culture.
Yeah,
And when you think that way, you don't think, okay, well, but they're good. Are the ideas good, or are the ideas bad?
exactly.
And are they how do these actually create actions that are good or bad? What are the actual effects of this ideology? Um, that's an important point. And the other thing is, most of the Muslim world actually doesn't know how to read like the Arabic of the Quran. So most of what they get is actually from imams. And that's actually like a very big difference between, like, say, Christianity or Catholicism, which is highly centralized. The Islamic world is like really decentralized, so like where the imam has like a huge amount of power, and that you're basically getting your entire religion from that one guy, and his interpretation of the Quran.
Right, right.
So, and that's why it makes it very hard for like a quote unquote enlightenment to take place in the Islamic world. I think just because like there's nothing they can really all there are so many different cultures within Islam that it would be very hard for them all
Right.
to coalesce around one idea
Yeah.
or one
Well,
movement.
exactly. I think there are a long way to go from enlightenment. I mean, the biggest difference right now is that Islam is a relatively new religion compared to Christianity. Christianity has been
I think
around.
that new.
Well, I mean, Christianity
It's like
has
what
been around. Well,
1,000 years it's been around. We've been
yeah,
around 2,000.
um, right. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not a new religion, but Christianity has kind of had time to have its dark ages and then be drug kicking and screaming into enlightenment. And then, of course, add on the fact that one of the main countries of Christianity, the United States, we've been modernized, and so the mainstream Christianity is kind of this, whatever's convenient. Take the happy parts and pretend the bad stuff aren't there. Where the countries that are predominantly Islam are still kind of in this. interpret the Quran literally mode because they haven't had that chance. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a population that does that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you in that the reason that Islam tends to be more extreme, or they justify more extremes, is that the countries that do it, right there in the Middle East, are their cultures. I mean, they're about fascism and authoritarianism over there. It has nothing to do with their religion.
I mean, I think the religion helps. I mean, if you're a fucking dictator in, Yemen or Syria, it's a lot easier for you to gain power by saying that Allah is cool with what you're doing.
Definitely,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, and it gets the people around you a lot fucking easier.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, isn't man? I really should fucking read up on Syria more. Isn't Syria a secular government?
Uh, I believe it is. Um, yeah,
How that
I
actually plays out? I mean, obviously, it's mostly
it's yeah. I mean, the main I know the main demographics, like it's mainly Sunni Muslims, but I don't think I'm actually pretty sure that it's not like it's not an established religion. I do know that they have a significant population of Christianity. I believe it's somewhere between 5 or 15%, and I think they even have some Druids. The statistics are not nearly that high. Um, yeah, a lot of Palestinian refugees and stuff. Yeah, it is secular.
I mean, secular in name, but I mean the thing.
Secular, yeah, they're, yeah, secular.
The problem with a country like that is when you have a group, many different groups of people, none of whom really believe in the idea of liberal secularism. The secularism itself is a negative philosophy, so it's going to be overpowered by whatever religious group has the biggest sword.
Well,
And
exactly. Yeah, and I mean that still happens to an extent here. I mean, some people, the religious right, will use their religion to justify oppressing certain people, not to the same extent where it's like murdering people, but preventing them from granting the same type of rights. So yeah, religion is unfortunately a huge part of society. It gets people to support things that they wouldn't otherwise support because the only reason they would support something is because of their religion.
right.
Um, that would be a discussion for another time.
Except for Scientologists, they're the right ones.
They're the right ones, right? Well, it's funny how it's like, Xenon or whatever his name, Xenu, whatever his name is. Yeah, what is it?
Xenu.
Yeah, Xenu. He's gonna, I don't know. Oh fuck it. I don't want to misrepresent Scientology.
He's
But
the alien overlord
what's
who.
that?
He is the alien overlord who planted thetans and volcanoes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm just getting all this from South Park.
right. And then Christians are like, that's ridiculous. What happened was what the truth was, we had someone who turned water into wine and did magical powers and then died on the cross so we can live with him in heaven up in the clouds. That's reasonable. It's like just a complete lack of self-awareness. Like they look at these other religions and like they're ridiculous, but their religion has a very similar type of thing. They just different names and stuff.
Okay, back to Syria. I just saw something and I want to bring it up.
Sure.
In 2013, Donald Trump tweeted, and I quote, "The president must get congressional approval before attacking Syria. Big mistake if he does not."
Oh.
What a fucking hypocrite, dude! Like, and now what he literally did was get a missile, launch a missile without congressional approval.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He didn't get anybody's approval. He's well, right. Well, he had criticized what he perceived to be.
He does tweet a lot in his defense, and I guess it's easy to forget. But
but I mean that was a predominating thing that Trump actually said a lot. I know he criticized him a bunch for Obama being too hawkish towards Syria. I mean, never mind that.
This is a bigger fucking problem though, because I don't know if any drone strikes in the past 8, like Obama or Trump or Bush, were ever approved by Congress. I think that's
Right.
like some fucking loophole that they thought of that, well, this isn't like an actual strike because it's a fucking machine or whatever, but like that needs to go through fucking Congress.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
why can't we all get behind that fucking idea?
yeah. Well, presidents use what's called the necessary and proper clause. And
Yeah.
it was one of the very not very great things that the founding fathers wrote, or they didn't define it very well because it basically just said if the president really thinks he has to do it, he doesn't have to go through the proper channels, which almost seems to completely defeat the purpose of the checks and
Yeah.
balances to begin with. And I mean that's something that hasn't been followed. And
That clause fucked up democracy.
geez, I'm like maybe I think George Washington kind of stood out of the way, but then right with Adams all the way on, that was just pretty much ignored. It's like, um, well,
Like
since
that's why like I never like there's always like this like thing whenever like the president does something and one side like makes fun of him. They're like, you're disrespecting the office of the president. I don't give a fuck about the office of the president. The Congress was supposed to be the main body of actually enforcing shit. Like that to me, that from what the Constitution lays out to me, that's how it was supposed to go down. But the executive branch just took over shit to an insane degree, where now like Congress just doesn't do shit anymore,
well, yeah,
especially like in the last 20 years.
yeah. Well, and it's like it just with the case of this judge, right? They've decided they've given up more of their power. Like fuck having 60 fuck having 60 votes. Let's just
Oh, the
make
filibuster.
yeah. I mean the filibuster's over, and then now
Yeah, I
Switzerland Dutch is going to
yeah,
be.
I don't know. I don't know what like what was the justification for overruling it? Like, there's an override they can do, right? Because if you have enough people to do it,
Yeah,
the
it
nuclear
was.
option, right?
Yeah, or why they? Yeah, nuclear option. I mean, they just. Yeah, I know. Like the thing they're saying is, well, if we keep doing this, we'll never nominate a judge. So
Right.
let's just change the rules so that we can nominate a judge. And
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean that's allowed. Like, I don't have like that much of a problem with it because I mean, it's allowed in the Constitution. Like that's a rule, and they have the majority. I mean, it's fucking hardball. The thing is, like I don't understand why the Democrats didn't do that when the Republicans were filibustering all the fucking time.
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have enough time,
Yeah, or maybe they didn't have the votes.
or yeah, I mean, they might not have had enough votes either.
Right.
Oh yeah, because they I don't remember that. I don't want to speculate, but yeah, I mean, that was probably it. Unfortunately, I guess the good news is it was Scalise that was lost, and so I guess it's just going to be breaking even. It's still going to suck, But if someone like Sotomayor died and she got replaced with this idiot, I think we would be in a world of.
Okay, so there is a reptilian human in the chat. Um, the human race is so mind controlled, even when you're told the truth, you don't believe unless you see it with your email eyes. I'm a reptilian human, and you have been amongst this race for centuries.
When
Please understand, I'm here to help save your race along with others that are in your government. Please, you guys are being called to come.
where Admiral Byrd took it, we have to go to Agartha, the Inner Earth, where he told us to flee to.
Donald Trump is going to save the world. It's predestined to happen.
Did you say that? The next attack on Israel will
Yodi
be.
Savage. All right.
Yeah, see, we got a couple of. I have to get off in a couple of minutes, but we
Okay.
got a couple of people.
Yodi Savage, I get the feeling you're an Alex Jones fan.
I think he's kidding. He's not. You don't think he's a real guy, do you?
I hope he is.
Yes.
Alt-right in meltdown mode.
Meltdown mode. At least Yodi Savage is. Anyway. All right. Well, hey, look, I gotta get off and go to bed.
All right, cool.
But you're gonna continue to talk.
Yeah, I think I might invite some. Well, no, I was thinking about sending out the invite, but I don't want this fucking Yodi dude in the chat with me.
You should. Why not bring him in? Let's just see, and then you can always kick him off.
All right. Okay.
I'll stay on the line for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I won't say anything, but I kind of want to hear what.
I will copy and paste a link to the YouTube chat. Nick, you can get in if you want.
I know Nick
Uh,
just doesn't. Nick just doesn't want dig me. Just wanting to
uh,
be part. But yeah.
all right. Yep.
Well, yeah. Before
Thomas, you can get on. Everybody in the chat, y'all can get on and
I was gonna say
talk
before.
about Syria or whatever. You were
Yeah.
saying what?
Well, I was gonna say before you invite everyone, just invite Yodi first. I just want to hear him by himself.
I'm not. That dude creeps me the fuck out. He's gonna be just like, he's probably just a troll and he's gonna like screech and reptile or something.
Well, we could always kick him out too. Well, here I'll wait here for a couple of minutes to see what he says.
I sent the leak out, so they should be
Yeah.
coming in a few seconds. When you get home? Were you home when I texted you? Hello?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I got home at about 9:30. I was just actually doing an improv show that I was
Oh,
in, which sucked. It did not go well at all.
damn.
That's what. Yeah,
I've
that
never
was
seen
my.
a good improv show.
What's that?
I've never seen a good
That's what's
improv
up.
show. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, the Silverbacks, they always do. Oh, I can hear you.
All right.
All right.
Wait, is that
Hello?
Yodi?
Is that Yodi? Hello?
No, it's Thomas.
Hello?
It's Thomas.
Thomas,
Okay.
there's an echo. You
There's
need
an echo.
to
You need to
put your mic away or turn it down.
turn it down.
Okay,
Put headphones
one
on.
second.
Headphones on.
Okay.
Okay.
Where the fuck is Yodi?
Yodi? Yodi. Yeah. You're still.
Thomas, move your mic away.
Yeah, move your mic away.
Hello?
Okay, that's better.
Yeah.
This is better. Okay.
All right. Well, Thomas, what the fuck do you think about the fucking World War III that's going on?
Well, actually, I think it's can you hear me well?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, yeah. I think it's kind of just the same usual kind of thing that we've seen. It's like a complex, structured thing where it's a trickle effect. Him going into Syria can lead to many like roads and options, but the issue is the 180 turn of policy, because Tillerson, went on TV and said, hey, we want to leave Syrian down to, or we want to leave
Right.
Syria down to, Assad, to the people, right?
That's
But
what
the issue,
that's what I
right.
said earlier. Like I'm getting fucking whiplash because Democrats are saying the exact opposite of what they're saying yesterday, and Republicans are now saying the exact opposite of what they were saying yesterday.
Oh yeah, it's scary. It's kind of scary to see this because it's kind of like it reminds me of Idiocracy or something almost.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of like Idiocracy a lot. It's like, why is it so jokish but like so clever at the same time? Okay, for example, like, you know what I think the issue is? Like, if you look at the timing, he just had dinner with the president of China.
Right.
And who was in his camp that was all about I don't like Asians? Bannon. Bannon had to get at, now Bannon still gets clearance and all that stuff, but Bannon was an anti-China guy. China's in town, right, and Condoleezza Rice is in town. Like all these people that it's almost like they ganged up on Trump and were like, you gotta do something about this. I don't like the neocons. It feels too. It doesn't. I don't really care about this. Who attacked who in Syria? It happened. I don't care about if it could be Al Nusra Front. It could be ISIS. I don't care who did the chemical attacks because I didn't want to go to war, so it shouldn't even matter, right? But the issue is people forget like timing of like where people are when people leave an office or leave a position. That shit really counts, especially with Trump. Remember, he's using a level of nepotism that we haven't seen before. His daughter has an office now. Kushner has no business being national security chair after Bannon, but it's happening.
So you think you think it was a concerted effort by neoconservatives, this missile launch?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Not like I think it's just too 180. It's too 180.
The way that the narrative is going right now is that he was like watching TV and he saw like a dead Syrian child and he was like, "Fuck that!"
Right,
so
right, and there's
you think that's bullshit?
Well, I think it's 60-40, right? I think people have to understand something. Donald Trump, he's appeared on. I don't watch Alex Jones often, almost ever. I laugh at him like to get high. I'll laugh at him. He says some crazy shit. He's wild, right? It's like almost like stand up sometimes. Yeah. But anyway, like Donald Trump's been on that show before. people have to understand, like, Donald Trump's been on Bannon's like radio channel, so when he knows TV, he understands. Like, and unfortunately for him, that's kind of how he does his kind of thing. Like, I think that's what it's not all TV. I know he gets information from people, but you got to remember, he promotes Fox and Friends on his tweets.
Right.
That's very unlike a president. The difference is it's different. Bush was kind of, he didn't know that it was like all Fox trying to tell us Operation Iraqi Freedom. But with Trump, I think he kind of likes that he's a celebrity still. He still wants to feel in that campaign mode. That's why he clowns on Obama. But the issue is, I think his cleverness is the only thing that can save him. But it may have backfired. I think he's like trying to do like a double move where he wants something good to come out of this, but he doesn't understand how hard a lot of his voters took this because he campaigned on it. And this is the first time he's went against his campaign.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Joseph Watson.
Sorry to ramble on, but yeah.
No, you're good. Yeah. Paul Joseph Watson actually fucking said he's off the Trump train. Like an after.
Oh, really?
His decision. Yeah, he went fucking ballistic.
Wow.
But
wow.
But okay, but what's the, like, for a guy like Bannon? Well, what's the end goal of going into Syria?
Well, it's actually not Syria. See, that's the issue. I think that's why Bannon had to go. Bannon has talked to Colin Powell and said, I want to go. Like, I think war in the South China Sea is more important. If you listen to his radio stuff, like the little best bits that they have of Bannon, he hates Asians. The way that Patton, General, I don't know if you know about war, but the way General Patton felt about Jews, Bannon feels about Chinese people. And people need to understand. People need to understand that, like, Bannon, he's a Navy guy. He is a nationalist, which is okay. It's so funny. I'm kind of weird how I look at politics now, because I feel like all these isms are coming back. You have, like, if you look at social media, people have like the hammer and sickle in their fucking like
it's
title.
this weird like philosophy age where your ideas are like define who you are.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of cool to see it. But when you think about people's ideas and when they think about end game, because look, you just asked me what's the end game here. It's not Syria for Bannon, it's China.
The South China Sea is the dumbest fucking thing in the world to me, because like I just go full libertarian on it. I'm just like,
sure,
why the fuck do we have to, like, we have no fucking business in the South China Sea? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
as long as there's free trade, who gives a fuck?
Yep.
Who?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Who controls that?
No, you're 100% right. And actually, so my uncle, he was special ops, and he was before he became special ops, he did some tank stuff. I think he was like an officer tank, whatever. I don't know all of his record, but anyway, he was in South Korea. And he told me, he said, Thomas, a lot of people don't understand. Like, it's still, Asia, people think, they look at an Asian person and they think karate, Jackie Chan, and funny stuff still. Like not like the average Joe doesn't. Yeah. It's that and like China scary, right? People forget Asia invented guns. Asia invented, like, they know war. They know how to end it. Guns. Yeah, like they invented guns, powder, fireworks, all that shit. Like, all that shit is great. The Brits took it, now they got it, people got it, and now right. But anyway, the point is like, I think Bannon was just looking to the future, and he's connecting it to this like almost illustrious past of like a Patton almost. Yeah. Of like, because he's a Navy guy. He looks at war as poetry. He's and politically, before he got to that NSC chair, it was more like, I want to be the right-hand man and your chief advisor. I kind of like, I don't really run the strings, but I can whisper in your ear. And I think maybe Trump pushed him to get that NSC chair, to be like, okay, you know what? I don't want you in my ear all the time. I'll just give you NSC chair so you can have your own room. And then I think, because remember when Bannon got taken out of the office, he had that one quote. He had that one quote yesterday or whatever today, the past day and a half. There's a new story every fucking day now. But Bannon was like, he said something like, I did kind of what I came to do. So that means like, he's not really going anywhere, right? That's
interesting.
He's not going anywhere. He's not like fired. He's still the chief advisor, and he still has security clearance. People forget about that shit. They just think he's gone. It's just that position as NSC chair, that involves war. That involves like, where do you want us to go? Looking at all this info, all this intel, all this stuff. And it's like, Bannon, I hate to say it, he's not the guy to be in the NSC chair. I'm kind of happy he's not there.
Oh, but I don't hate to say that at all. He's definitely not.
So right, but I think the end game was Syria. I only know so much. My coworker actually used to work in Saudi Arabia, and so he tells me some things, and he's like, people forget how complex the region is. And so look at it from an ISIS perspective, right? And I don't side ISIS is horrible. I fucking hope they melt like tomorrow, right, from the sun rising, like vampires, But the thing is, like, with ISIS, we could either give them something or take something away with this. And I don't mean by like a deal, like we're gifting them almost. Like if we take out too much of Syria, or if we do kill Assad, we have to make sure ISIS is already dealt with. Because if Assad is gone, then the Syrian people are
point, though. They're near that fucking point where, I mean, ISIS is almost out of the region.
Well, ISIS is almost out of the region, but ISIS.
That's why it sucks so much.
But ISIS likes it when we destabilize. Yeah, see, because when we destabilize and we send missiles, they can, especially now because everyone has the internet, they can just indoctrinate a new thing. Like, okay, now we attack on whatever new fucking European country we want to attack on today. That's the thing. People forget. We haven't seen a string of how Europe. I mean, Russia's been. We haven't seen a string of attacks happen the way they've happened in so long. We've had 2 Paris attacks in the past 2 years. Charlie Hebdo, the train, or the whole attack like by the stadium, the whole thing, right? We've seen it, and it's been really, really fast. It's been really, really fast, and it's on a major scale. But the difference is we haven't really been involved in it, and actually, it kind of kept the. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and so what it did is it kind of kept a homeostasis. It's not bubbling over because we're not in it, and we're doing drones. Obama's killing people with drones, and he killed people too. But I guess my point is, at the end of the day, we can only kind of wait to see what happens. But I think the end game for Trump and maybe in his head, he's thinking, let me flex my muscle. These kids died. This is the opportunity to say I gotta have a humanitarian side. Bannon's kind of calmed down now. It seems like he's kind of treating it like almost like a king, like it's like a king presidency kind of thing. Like I put my son-in-law in a job. I don't have to worry too much about like.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing,
sorry for rambling, but go ahead.
No, I mean, you're good. I love ramblers. Yeah. I mean, one thing I really believe is that like there's just it's like the past month has just been so Russia, Trump and Russia that I can feasibly like see him having the thought, I need to get away from Russia. I need to prove that me and Russia aren't as tight as people think we are. Like that to me, that's a legitimate factor.
That's a fair point. Now that's a very Trump thing to do. See, it's almost like a clever Trump. Yeah, that's a good insight. A lot of people may not even look at it that way because they're so pissed, especially if you're on the right. You're just mad now.
Yeah.
And what you're saying, and he's probably thinking, okay, I'm gonna piss everybody off, but I have to make sure I get the journos back on my side because there's a lot of journalists that are even from the right that are already questioning him anyway.
I mean, and with the healthcare thing, he's already fucking like he's shown that he wants to part ways with Republicans almost because he's so pissed off that they didn't go with his health plan, and he wants to sign with fucking Democrats, and he wants the fucking media on his side.
Yeah, and actually, no, and I think the reason why is because like when it's the art of the deal, how he does those tweets, he actually, and that's the ego in him. He wants to be liked by everybody, but he pretends to talk shit all the time.
Of course,
and I think
he's a fucking narcissist.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what people got to remember from if you voted for him. Like I tell people, like remember he was a outspoken Democrat. He's never been a Republican.
He was a fucking New York.
Like dude, 10 years ago, if you told somebody from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that they should be voting for Donald Trump in the next 10 years, they'd be like, "Fuck you! I ain't voting for Donald Trump." Like he's just one of them city slicker boys. Like like the hardcore. Like we're talking about the fringe groups that are like. They're not racist, but they're on the verge, or if they are, like and it's okay. Not every Trump voter is racist. It's, that's crazy to say that. But there are those people that were like, "Look, man, I want my jobs." They stood like Obama's fucking EPA tore down the coal mine, right? Obama wasn't giving us jobs. We voted for him twice. We'll give you a shot, right?
Yeah, I really believe it was fucking blue collars, people wanting their fucking jobs back. And the liberal
right,
and the liberals not giving a fuck about them and abandoning them
all.
For politics.
They actually bought into, and that's what what triggered the alt right. I think that's where the alt right kind of squeezed in because it was like we're these young gamer kids, but we can also relate to these coal miners because fuck establishment.
That's what it was.
It was like
they're basically like no one called like. Everyone's telling me not to say the N-word, and I've never lived in a time where the N-word actually was a serious thing. So I'm just going to say it all the time. And the fact that black people and Mexicans and all these people can have their own little identity groups, and me as a white person can't have an identity group is bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make my own, and this is the alt-right now.
Right. Well,
That's what the fuck it was.
Are you white?
Yeah, I'm white.
I'm black.
Okay.
So, and you know, it's funny because what you just said and that's another thing. That's another good insight. It kind of like encompasses the whole thing. It's like everybody's searching for their identity. Because are you on Twitter at all?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I just started this YouTube page. I just got a Twitter the other day. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, well, like I'll look through Twitter sometimes. I'm not really on it too much, but like you see it. These guys. There's so many different like identities. You have like alt center, alt so and so. You have certain guys that are different types of nationalists. You have all these like the European. And actually, I'll tell you this. I hate to say it, but I can side with the nationalists that are like in Europe more so because I really do believe the migrant crisis has affected the way they're living. It actually is really true. Germany? It's not a joke.
Are you kidding me? It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's really real, and I'm actually thankful because the alternate news has covered that, and I think that like it's weird as a black person, I've never understood the gripe in the past like 8 years, like with Obama's reign. I never, to be honest, I didn't vote for Obama. I don't think if I had to vote, if I went back in time, there's only 2 presidents I'd vote for. It would be, if I could, in terms of like a literal, like in terms of a time travel sense, there would be 2, JFK and George Washington. Everybody always says you should vote for Abraham Lincoln because he freed the slaves.
Yeah.
But the only thing I like about Abraham Lincoln, besides freeing the slaves, is that like he was going to do greenbacks. But the issue is the way, like George Washington was more sympathetic towards black people.
Yeah, Lincoln did not care for black people.
He really didn't.
He really didn't,
man. Yeah, man. Like and it's so sad. It's actually really sad because like to this day, you just see like old black people like Abraham Lincoln, you know, and like people just don't want to know. And you know, it's so sad. See, like if you and I say that to someone in the street, like a liberal or something, or just like someone to start, you know, just like a average lesbian girl who like thinks the patriarchy is all death.
Fuck yourself.
Right, yeah, like Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. You're black. What's wrong with you? Like, you know, like, and it's like, wait, no, like, it's in his memoirs. Like, like he wrote it down. It wasn't like
he said he wanted them to go to Africa.
Yeah, like these, like they actually say, like, I don't know. It's so crazy. People think it's alternative news is just like read someone's biography.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Lincoln's a very interesting character. Like he's almost a Shakespearean figure to me. Like he's so fucking complicated.
Sure.
He had such like weird. Like his whole thing was the idea of America as a sacred union, which is an idea that fucking no one had before him, and he just kind of made it up. And he's like, this is worth having the most bloody war in our history to keep this fucking union thing.
Yeah,
and
you gotta give me that. Well, no, I don't hate Abraham Lincoln, but I just think, you know, it's like I don't, you know, I hold JFK a little bit higher because I think he was the last one to attack like how the debt was.
Yeah. And I mean, I like Calvin Coolidge. I like that motherfucker. He didn't do shit.
Yeah, Coolidge is all right. Yeah, that's right.
Just goes into this fucking work.
But back to what I was gonna say. Right. It's you know, but you know, when you look at the identity, I think people just look at it so much on race and they forget of like real numbers and real heritage in history.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think the nationalists get that also jumbled up too because they like forget about European imperialism in the beginning. Like it's almost like I know that you feel you should feel like if you're a white nationalist, that's fine. And actually you should be one in public because the irony is nationalism doesn't mean you're racist towards other people. People like liberals just tag the word supremacist because that's the indoctrinated word. It is like, you know, like that's the gospel that they live by. It's like buzzwords, you know, like I was watching I was watching MSNBC for a minute and some guy was like, he's a white supremacist. Like they even say it like it's almost like Bueller, like it's like that, you know, they say it like that.
It's like, a normal thing.
Yeah, I'm like when you throw words around like that, it's like you're automatically generalizing and you pretend that you want this freedom. What kind of freedom do you want when you say I'm freedom, but you're white and you're privileged?
I used to get really pissed off about that, but then
like
I have to like go in their head and realize that like just in their world they really believe everyone's racist, but except for the people who have the exact same beliefs as they do.
That's a
like
very that's a
liberals
very
are the superior race, and they have
yeah
to beneficent
yeah
gods to the poor conservatives and the poor libertarians and all that shit. You know,
yeah.
it's
But see,
fucking, which makes them the most
yeah.
patronizing people on earth.
And they don't even know. See, that's another thing too. It's like those like the coal miner situation. Whenever someone you bring it up, they say, "But climate change is destroying the earth. We'll be underwater. And if you don't believe in it, if you question it, it's not. You're a climate change denier. And if you're a climate change denier, you're a flat earther. And like as soon as you as soon
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
say, the issue is it reminds me. This is the reason why I don't like the left. It reminds me of I see small shades of like 1984. And then on Twitter, they don't even see. They don't even understand. They're not even self-aware. There's a whole thing. You can look it up on Twitter or on the Google. It was like 2,000 people are protesting Trump by going to see the movie 1984. Like, dude, you're looking into the mirror.
yes.
The only difference is instead of bald heads and like a fat lady saying resist the orgasm, it's this drag queen shows and fucking and like thought police wearing spandex and
Yeah,
like with
it's
glitter on.
bullying. It's
Yeah.
bullying in the name of love.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's a
right.
fucking fascist who's saying I'm not a fascist, I'm a nice guy,
Yeah,
but that doesn't make you not a fucking fascist.
right. Like, they forget. I'm like, you can't just say I'm half non-binary, like Marxist. Like, no, you have a YouTube channel. Marxism is is an economic political system. It's not about like your identity, have fun and be aware and live out loud. Like what? Like those are the type of people that'll be like, if Michelle Obama goes runs for president, I'll vote for her. It's like, no, you're a Marxist. You can't vote for her.
Yeah,
Well, what do you like? Are you just lying to yourselves? And what happens to white people? They just get generalized as like, you want an all white neighborhood, you're racist. And then the sad thing is, there's stats that see. The thing is, and here's what we have: we have science at a crossroads too. Because, for example, like, do I believe in climate change? Yes, but do I understand it should be observed by the scientific method? Yes, that means that
right.
it's not always all the way true. Like not every waking fucking minute, because another scientist has to keep doing the evidence. You have to keep taking samples. You have to keep, like doing it over time. That's the
Yeah,
whole. It's like scientists kind of are like time travelers because they just continue people's work for so long. It's like these little, it's almost like science and time is like a giant sculpture that's being chipped away into the
right.
whatever the perfect human is because they're trying to see how long we live and all that shit. But anyway,
That's something
but
I don't even fuck with climate change anymore. Because I mean, yeah, I mean, they're like the more I look into it, it does seem like there's more nuance to it. And I like the moment you step away from the orthodoxy, it's you get fucking hit with a brick.
right. Yeah. But either way, I guess my point is like back to what you were saying too. It's so much and they're especially with the Pepsi commercial. Like when I saw that, like the way that
I missed that whole
they
thing.
like
What was that about?
oh okay oh my god it was
I
the
see the
uproar
memes, but I don't know what they
dude.
mean.
Okay, so Kendall Jenner, here's the commercial. So you see an Asian guy. He's like in his room. He's like playing the cello. He drinks a can of Pepsi. They show like a girl in a hijab, and she's in like an art room with like photographs in the background. She's wearing her hijab. Obviously they get their cultural appropriation there. And then they have like people walking in the streets, kind of like a light protest. It's almost like they're like walking the streets, like yeah, kumbaya, and all
Yeah.
the colors like blue Pepsi colors, and they have symbols and signs. And then but like Kendall Jenner is in this hotel doorway watching these people protest, but she's like getting her model on. She's like modeling with blonde hair,
Yeah.
and she like notices these people protesting, and she's like kind of gets agitated, and she's like, you know what, I need to kind of like that face that says I need to be protesting with these people too, kind of feeling.
Oh god.
And then she walks down the stairs, like she storms down the stairs, takes her blonde wig off, and then like joins the revolution in this protest, and like they're all happy and they're playing music and they're dancing and they're high-fiving, and then she gives the police the denouement is she gives the cop a Pepsi, and he smiles and he drinks the Pepsi.
Oh, so Pepsi
And
solved
like
all the world's problems. It solved the race problem.
right,
That's all we needed.
oh no, oh, Black Twitter got triggered,
Yeah.
alt-right had a grand old time.
Yeah.
Everybody, I focus on Twitter. I was like, I want to know what everybody's thinking.
Yeah.
Liberals, everybody's slamming it, but what I realize is though, when you sometimes you can catch something on Twitter where you'll find a conversation and it like leads you into the rabbit hole of like how shit works, and or like how shit really perceive, or how people perceive like protest and what they actually know about the world that they live in, like just by one conversation. So this guy said people were calling for Pepsi to donate money to Black Lives Matter, right? people were saying that black people were like, you need to donate to Black Lives Matter because you're you're modernizing the movement.
Right.
And this one guy, this journalist was like, no, I don't see how that has any connection. Like they apologized,
Yeah.
they like and he said they apologized.
Ooh.
They did apologize, right? But the black guy, the next tweet, he was like, yes, they do have to send money to Black Lives Matter, and I and some this other guy was saying some other stuff, but I realized after reading the conversation, the left doesn't understand capitalism still. Like they still think that unification among peoples in a kumbaya world was like partially solved by Obamacare, and like by like these certain things that Obama did a good job of giving the idea of unification, but he didn't do a good job of like really getting the unification to actually get intact.
No, I
He
mean we were more
pushed,
racially divided than fucking ever since the
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
know?
and the hypocrisy, and actually not just from Black Lives Matter, from a lot of black people, and that's what I'm kind of I hate to say it. Look, I know they're gonna record this because it's YouTube. I am thankful I didn't vote for Obama as a black man. Like seriously,
Yeah.
I cannot stand for a guy to come in and use the whole ideology of like the black preacher, like kind of like Oprah hug. He's got, and like when you look at who he is, like I'm not saying I'm not a birther guy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. He's an
Right.
American. He's black, right? But like if you look at what he is politically, if you look at his collegiate years, what he's actually about, how he grew up, how he went to high school, he spent 8 years in Indonesia. Like, I tell people Obama in the 70s, people like, yeah, he's an organizer and he's about civil rights. Like, man, yeah, he was. He was speaking and he was cool, but he was probably just going to school and smoking weed. Like
Yeah.
there's no story in the 70s about this great Barack Obama.
Right.
Like like black men were looking at black exploitation films and like you had like The Shaft, you had Jimi Hendrix out,
Right.
like niggas was finding their soul. And a lot of it, and actually there's a lot of people, not just black people, everybody was trying to do that, but it got jumbled up and then along came computers and technology.
Yeah.
And then the Bill Gates guys, they really changed the path of it because it was like, okay, you got to catch up. Like, do you know how to it started getting more technological and there are more business opportunities, more jobs. Reagan got in afterwards, Bush Senior gets in. You have all these people after the 70s, but like you never hear of an Obama. There's no story when you're growing up in middle school that said, "Oh, Barack
Yeah.
Obama, the great Chicago organizer." Now
As
I'm not
well
saying he
documented
had
as that ever was. Yeah.
right,
Not
right.
can't find one photo of him in the
Right,
fucking riot.
well, and I'm being harsh there. I'm high, I'm high. I smoke a little blunt, right? But the issue is, Obama rode on the coattails of an image, and I think black people were misled by the celebrity of Obama. I don't think they truly absorbed what politics meant, because if they did, they would have seen things that like told everybody the truth. Like WikiLeaks released before Obama got elected. WikiLeaks released the email that was to John Podesta that said that was from Citigroup or Citibank or whatever group. They had a list of Obama's proposed like administration. They had like 15 people that they're like, we think that he should have these people in his administration. And he picked like 80% of those people. It wasn't like all of them. It was never going to be all of them. Obama is still like, he's still meant for the role. He still is a politician.
Yeah.
Now there's a debate if he's now I can't confirm this, but there's a debate that he's a Marxist at heart. Some people say that he.
I mean, when you're a community organizer,
yeah.
like when you're in that world, dude, Marx just it's around, like it's a super leftist type of thing, like
it is.
It's just around. Like it's like when you go to college, Marx is just fucking around. Like I was an English major and I had to read Marx all the fucking time, and we talked about Marx like it was just a normal thing,
Right. And so no, like, and there's a thing, I always tell people there's good and bad in every kind of philosophy, in every kind of dogma, and every kind of even the made up religions, and every kind of there's always some sort of wisdom there. Like there's some good things about there's some like lightly there's like one thing that you could like be like I could live with that in Marxism, or I could live with that in communism. But the issue is, ironically enough, those are the ones that we know haven't quite worked. Now, to a degree, China actually still has remnants of it. I tell people all the time, yeah, China may be more capitalist and pretending like they're us, but
it's a weird mix.
The government, they still have communist notes, so to say. And I think that, now, like you're saying, like they're so left. Here, I can't tell. I can't tell if they know what they are. As much as they're criticizing Trump, they don't even know who they are because it's like, who's gonna run? I think
Right.
about that too. Like, who's gonna run? Elizabeth Warren? Like, black people ain't gonna vote for her.
Well, I
They're
mean, I
not,
was thinking
man.
about that during the 2016 election because when you looked at like Trump, like you can say that Trump won fucking fairly with the RNC because there were 16 guys, all different types of Republicans. There were libertarians, there were fucking neoconservatives, and they had a fucking brawl for like a few months, and Trump just turned out to be the winner. With the Democrats, it was fucking Hillary, and Bernie just kind of came up there when no one was looking, and it was just the de facto choice since fucking
Yep.
2008 that she was going to be the next person after Obama, and everyone, and they should have known that people fucking hate Hillary Clinton. She is not a likable person, but
Yep.
they have fucking no one else, and they still have
Yep.
no one else. They don't know what they're going to do in 2020. Hillary's talking about running again. That's how fucking
Really?
yeah. She's hinted towards it. There's news stories about it. And
Oh
even
no!
even Bill Maher was like, dude, just go away. We don't want you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. I hate to say it, I'm not a Hillary fan either.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
definitely
not.
not a
I'm
Hillary
not.
fan. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't vote for either candidate, but I knew I wasn't voting
Yeah.
for
Same.
fucking
Same.
Hillary.
You know what's so funny? I hate it when people said you should have voted for someone. Like, this is the best time ever to be like, yeah, it's okay that I didn't vote.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. No. Hillary's like, we always say, oh, she's better because the woman and like feminism and like all those all those little labels, and then you get to the nitty gritty when you tell them like, hey, no, I'm going off what I like, what she said on tape, what she's passed, like
yeah.
how she looks at war, how she
They need to
how
meet
can they
they need to
it's
meet
clear
my
like
standards, not the other way around. I don't meet their stand. Like
right,
they're selling me. I'm not selling them on my vote. Like
and
it's
that's
like
another thing
it's fucking
too.
twisted the way people think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, but and people forget politics is if I give you my vote, you help me because I am the citizen. You talk to the that's the thing people forget about politics. It's like you have to treat it like cash in hand. And that's the thing about
Right.
I didn't like about the huge amount of like negligence of how we view politics from black people that I knew. And actually, I actually didn't feel that bad because I didn't vote for him. I think I would probably feel
Yeah.
worse if I did vote for Obama. And people probably gonna give me shit. I'm sure on my deathbed they'll be like, "You didn't vote for Obama." But the thing is, like, that black guy is the same guy who like thinks that like white supremacy is out to get him. Like I don't think that it's that way. I think there are systemic problems. I think there are like instances where like white supremacy has like white privilege still kind of exists, but I don't think
Right.
it's in the range of like milk is white privilege. You are white privilege because your whiteness is around me. Like fucking weird commie poet shit. Like the Voice Village from the '60s. Like you're some, you're a barista and you want to just
Yeah.
be that person. Like fuck all that shit. Like that's when identity goes wrong. See, like people like that. Like I would rather be friends with like, and actually I am friends with some white nationalists. Actually, like there's a couple guys that I know, and I didn't know until they told me. They're like, I'm just letting you know that I voted for Trump. Like I was like, are you? I was like, you never talk about politics at all. Had you talked about? I called him out. I said, had you talked about politics before, I would say you're for Trump just because you're just like, hey, yay, Trump. But I know that you're like more of a nationalist, aren't you? And he was like, yeah, I'm a nationalist. I was like, that's all right. It's okay.
That's the weird thing
I
about the
get
alt
it.
right is that they believe like crazy shit, but they're actually like nice people. Like they
What?
actually
No,
like
no, no.
they're like gentlemen. They can have a conversation even though they don't like they
No, here's
believe.
what happened. No, here's what happened. The alternate news reached a generation of Republicans that were like, as they quote unquote woke, that were like, I went to school, I went to liberal. You mean I've met nationalists that were like, I met guys, or I've seen not met them, but I've seen like YouTube videos of these guys, and they're like, there's a gay guy named Greg Johnson. He used to be a liberal arts major, and he's
Hmm.
like one of the big guys on like making an ethno state. Like he's
Yeah.
talking about like how the ethno community should work, how women should be wives. It's almost cultish, right? To a
Right.
degree. But the irony is like these are like educated kids. They're not podunk Mormons or not Mormons. That was offensive. I actually don't mind Mormons. But like they're not like Satanists or Illuminati, cloak guys. They're just good
That's
old boys
offensive to
sometimes.
Illuminati.
Right. I know, right? The Illuminati is probably actually no. Actually, we're all laughing at the Illuminati because like they're not even mentioned anymore. They're just like, yeah, whatever. You're not real anymore.
Bro, but you know what? I
Even
saw
if you,
Paul Joseph Watson like shared a meme like 3 hours ago that said like on April 6th, 1917 was the day America entered World War One, which is exactly 100 years ago from the fucking missile strikes. And I was like, damn, that's some
wait, the
Illuminati
same
shit.
day? Is it exactly?
I mean, that was the meme, and I googled it, and it seemed right.
Wait.
So
Oh no, it
August,
is. Maybe it is Illuminati. Maybe it is true. It's the fucking Rothschilds. It's them. It really is them.
I mean,
Holy
it's
shit!
it's the globalist at least, you know.
The globalism. No,
Fucking
they
Alex Jones is
win. They
right.
win. They win.
They fucking won, man. Shit.
Actually, it's kind of fucked up. It's like even if you didn't vote for him, we all kind of were like, oh, at least Trump is not Hillary, right?
Yeah.
And then we're observing this like first 100 days, everybody's more active on social media. You see what people like thoughts, people getting pissed, families getting split in half. You don't talk to your father anymore.
Right.
But then it's kind of like you see this, and now like no, like for the right, they're just like no.
Yeah, they're like they're having a breakup
really,
moment.
It's kind of funny. I gotta admit, it's kind of comical. I'm not harshly laughing at it because I do kind of feel I do feel their pain. You know, I do.
I love their memes. Their memes are the
But-
fucking best. Like I follow God Emperor Trump on
Oh.
Facebook, and he's the most hilarious motherfucker. With, and like he's having like an existential crisis right now, and I was like, oh. But,
yeah, right. Yeah, it's. But hey, you know, and that's the interesting thing because he did run on this campaign, and he was up to it for the most part. I think he got lucky. He got a break with Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan really helped him out by fucking up that health bill, and so but it's still Trump's fault, but it's like not his fault.
Right.
Because Paul Ryan, it's so sad actually. It's kind of I wanted to like Paul Ryan. I really did. I thought he was actually going to be like the golden boy and be like, wait a second, he might do this. Yeah, right. And he, you know, but the issue is, I think the Republican Party forgot that the candidates that they're going to have just weren't the right batch, and none of them were going to take the lead. And like when Trump ran, it probably stifled him. I bet when Trump said he's running, I bet Paul Ryan was like, wait, who? You know, someone called him. Someone called him, or he was eating breakfast, or he was on the treadmill, and he saw, you know, DC, you know, and he saw it, and he's like, holy shit, Trump's running. And so everybody shook, but they're like, they got to pretend that they're not shook. Because as soon as Trump ran, he said, I'm not backing Trump. Paul Ryan was on video saying, I'm not backing Trump.
Yeah, because no one took him seriously.
Right, no one took him seriously. And now he wins, and it's like, bro, you didn't even have a healthcare plan ready? You know why? Because he thought he wasn't going to win. And he stifled it. He should have... The Republicans should have drafted a secret plan, just a plan that they weren't even going to pass, and just like just make a redraft from 2012 up into 2015.
Yeah.
Paul Ryan should have been working on it. Yeah, he should have worked on it. Yeah, he should have worked on it as soon as this first term was over for Obama. He's like, okay, he's gonna get a second one. Well, who did Obama run against? Perry? He ran
Romney.
against. Oh, Romney was the second guy. That's right. I'm sorry. Fuck, I'm thinking Romney and Perry remind me of each other sometimes. Sorry, yeah, fucking retarded right now. My bad. I'm retarded. But anyway, so
I mean, the thing about the health bill was, like, I don't understand. What Trump was just like, I want it done in 2 weeks, you know. And I mean, say what you will about Obamacare, it was fucking done in like they researched it just for a year before they did anything. And he's just like, I want it done as fast as fucking possible. And, like, why, dude? You have 4 fucking years in office.
That's a good point. Actually, no one's ever went out like. Well, you know, that's when the media plays a part. Yeah. Because and that, you know, it's so funny. It's sad because I think Trump, as much as he's good at firing people, look how he's doing. He's firing Bannon, boom, you're out. I just had dinner with the Chinese president, boom, gone. And like, you know, Flynn's gone. I wish you luck, but you're a snitch. Cool, gone. And then like now it's like, okay, you're going to war, but it's like I don't know. It's like this narcissistic ego thing that he's doing. But as good as he is at hiring, or good as he is at firing, he can't hire. And where's Kellyanne? Kellyanne,
they put her away.
They put her in a dungeon. Bad girl.
Dungeon.
Bad girl. Like, right? That was really fucked up, but still, you know, he's firing well, but and I think part of it is he didn't hire well. Maybe he's starting to realize, and maybe that's why he's watching the news. I think his only friend is probably Spicer, and Spicer's a trip, man. I ain't gonna lie. As much as he's like fucked up about being their like as much as there's something really fucked up about him being the press secretary.
Yeah. He's
And
just a weird
I
fucking
actually
dude. Like he swallows chewing gum every day.
yeah.
He's just fucking weird. Like what? Is this the guy?
Right.
I would have preferred
And
Milo. That would have been fucking hilarious.
yeah. Yeah, it's and that's the thing. It's like Sean Spicer. He just like how he is, how he's there's no grace. There's no real grace about this administration, and that's how you know he's not a politician. Which actually, in a sense, as harsh as we are on Trump, it's like this is the first time this has happened.
Right? Yeah, like a pure
so like,
non-politician doing this.
Yeah, so it's like as much as I'm like, yeah, oh my God, what is he thinking? I'm like, did we not really expect it to be like? Shouldn't we have expected like a turn for the like, oh God, we all don't like you today?
Yeah, I'm gonna be really interested in like three or 4 years when he actually has an idea of what he's doing and like what he's going to actually look like then. Because like my thing, I've been on the fucking fence about him since he started because he hasn't done as much as everyone's been bitching. He hasn't really done shit since like the first thing he did was fucking TPP, was take away the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and I was like, oh, that's fucking great,
right?
Like that's awesome.
Yeah, that was good.
And then he did the executive order with the refugees. I'm like, all right, that's fucking goofy, but whatever. And
yeah, it's funny. Wait, about that. It's funny. I always tell people like, and this is where like I get into, if since everybody wants to have labels, I was like, what would I be labeled as? Right. And actually, it's kind of nice. Or can you? Oh, sorry, hold on.
You're good.
I looked at what I was like, what I would be labeled as, and I'm actually kind of a nationalist. Like I was looking on Wikipedia, I was like looking at each kind of political like party, like by the label.
Yeah.
And a civic nationalist is someone who's pretty much like kind of center. You can be you kind of have libertarian values, but you also believe in the idea like, and this is where I get to immigration. Like I am okay with a kind of a wall. It's only 2 miles that we have to cover anyway. I'm okay with a kind of like a new upgrade on immigration.
Right.
As a black person, I do look at stats sometimes, like well, how has it been for jobs for blacks? Just because I'm black, because I'm black, I can't wake up and be like, yeah, I am this, all right? Yeah. So I care about it, and I look at the stats, and it's like, immigrants from Central America and Latin America have played an influence in like the downgrade of not just black people, but just like lower income people. And people don't think about like, yeah, it's okay to have immigrants in the country, but when companies are paying them low wages because they know they can have them work illegally and they can be docile because they don't have real rights, like that is cheating the American citizen. And the issue is companies are doing that. It's not like the Mexican guy just wants to work and send money back to his people. I get it. But the thing is, like,
lower wages. You can just make it from an economic point of view. It fucking lowers wages whenever
it lowers wages, right?
I mean, and the fucking left, which is supposed to be the beneficent party of let's help the poor people, doesn't give a fuck about that. About the dollar class, which is supposed to be their whole thing.
They don't care about. See that they're changing it because of globalism, this multicultural, and I hate to say it, and so that's why I get more center and I understand the right. Because you say multiculturalism, but as a civic nationalist, like it is kind of America first. Like if you live here and you're mad that Hillary lost, and you're an American, but you walk outside with the Mexican flag, well then go to Mexico. Right. Like I actually feel like if you're gonna wave the Mexican flag and say like no, fuck America, like I kind of like, bro? Yeah, why are you kind of here? Like and it's not like a kick you out with the ICE raid. It's like literally, why are you here? If you love Mexico, be a civic nationalist for your country.
I mean, it's not kind of the same thing as like dashiki though. Like people wearing like a dashiki or like a like African nationalists, I guess.
Well, and see now here's no. I feel bad because people think white nationalists have all these divisions and alt-right. With black people, it's fucked up, dude. Let me tell you something. I don't know if you know. There's things like black people are actually, I'd say in the next 50 years, there's a chance that like we're so spread out and so thin, it appears that there's like 48 million of us now. I think we'll peak at like 51, and then we'll actually go backwards and we'll start dying off, dude. Black people don't understand like really what's at stake, and part of it is, I'm telling you, dude, the Obama train hit them like a fucking the Trump trauma actually hit them more than people think it hit them. Right. But black people trying to be like, we're black, so we stay strong. The issue is black people, we don't really understand how we should have assimilated to be black people in this country. And the only people that did are those of the past. And what we're seeing is black people now, Black Lives Matter, all these people, they don't know which black is the right black. And so everyone's calling everybody a coon. If you're a gangster, you see a gangster dude, see me speak like I speak, he'll call me a coon. But then like the brother man who goes to Harvard looks at a ghetto dude as a coon. You have a bunch of women that you have Black Twitter getting having conspiracy theories like the white man is selling us sunscreen and the toxins and the melanin in our skin is like the power of the sun and shit like that.
Right.
When they need to be thinking about like we need to be thinking about like, dude, illegal immigrants have been taking our jobs. Trump, we don't like him, but we got to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Right.
That's how fucking politics work. Don't get mad at the photo op. They got to smile because it's fucking politics. You get mad about like all these people are like, oh, these guys are coons. The NAACP that meeting with Trump or the caucus meeting with Trump, they're a coon. It's like, no, he's not a coon. He's a guy who has to say that's how you get contracts. The president is the president. That's the government contract. The money comes from that. Like it's that in the Federal Reserve. You can't knock on the Federal Reserve's door and nobody listened to him. I feel bad for Ron Paul because he called it straight. And look what happened. The fucking leftists took the Occupy. The Occupy people were fucking. They're more organized and more real about their cause than Black Lives Matter. But they just didn't get violent. And Black Lives Matter is just getting them out about. And this thing, even Black Lives Matter and these riots. What president had? Like, Trump wasn't the president. Obama was the president when Black Lives Matter came about. And what did he do? He passed the blue blood law and saved and protected cops.
Yeah.
Like for real. And black people were so mad. Oh, the white supremacy. That, excuse my French, but that's a nigga.
Yeah, well, I mean,
nigga,
Black
right?
Lives
You
Matter.
voted for him, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Black
Jesus.
Lives Matter. To me, that's definitely like a progressive movement. But like, I've always found the lines between like the Democratic Party and like I'm from South Louisiana, and like the black coalitions around here are very like I just don't understand why they're Democrat, because if you look at their actual political opinions, they do align more conservative. Like they're pro life, they're they're anti-gay.
Exactly.
Like all that shit lines up perfectly, but yet there's this weird divide. And
it's the culture, because the culture wants to praise. Well, and actually that's where you get down to like you look at like I get back to the point of like assimilating. It's like technically, I always tell people like when I wake up, I'm still black. Nothing can take away your blackness. And I think black people over time we've started to jumble this blackness. So that's why you see those like conspiracy theories about white people selling the sunscreen till all the way to like Trump is a KKK member and he's white supremacist and we need to go back to Africa. Not thinking about like, okay, do you understand like what Africa is like right now? You need to think about which country you could actually survive in Africa. You have to go to the most civilized place that has commerce and like that's even similar to your ideology or like what you've been living by in America. You can't just think that your mental change won't just shift. It's not like you go to Africa, go to Nigeria and say, cool, I can be black and free because I'm black. Like, no, you have to get used to the commerce. You have to understand like what war is like. You have to know who Boko Haram is. You have to understand like the difference, like if religion really matters. Like if you are a Christian, you're a Christian. It's very staunch the way they live. You know, it's like it's very real. It gets real when you go to Africa. I've never been there, but like I've read enough. I've met people, met enough Africans to know like it's real, right? It's not like you know, but also. But the entertainment hold, I think it's kind of weird too. I think it's escalated in a while. Like things trend and we become. I mean, I don't, but I observe it. The people become monolith. Like Oscar's so white. You get like with all the protests, like in all the riots. Like Baltimore is a prime example. Baltimore made me mad because the mayor's black, the police chief, like the police commanders are black, the councilman's black. They got white people. They got white people that are counselors and stuff. But Baltimore is a black city. Right. It's almost like Atlanta. You know, we've seen The Wire, like,
oh yeah,
you know, like it's not like, and my issue is, and even the cops who killed some of the, like it was like 7 cops indicted for the case, and it's like 2 of them are black women, and black, like you have a bunch of black people screaming, oh, white supremacy, white supremacy, and the issue is we didn't learn from MLK. We in February, black people pretend all they want. They put up memes talking about, oh, MLK, Black History Month, we love him. It's like, so why do you keep rioting by non-peaceful means?
I really believe that
Like,
shit is Marxist, though. I really believe it derives from Marxist thought of oppressor and oppressed. Instead of proletariat and bourgeoisie, it's white people and black people. Like they have to have that divide for it to work because that's how that worldview functions. You know,
exactly. And actually, you're right. And the Democrats keep black people under the cloak of victimhood. They keep doing it. And that's my issue. Like, this is where you get down to like pragmatism. Is white supremacy real? Like, that's the question to black people, and they for the majority of us agree. But my issue is, if that's the case, why didn't you press Obama to get it done? Like, it's so weird. They pretend like Trump has been here for 15 fucking
yeah.
years, and it makes
That's why I
this
think
is
there
my
was that
issue.
huge protest on his inauguration because they're just fucking waiting to protest the fucking a president, man.
But
They could
yeah,
years.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It makes me mad because, okay, for example, we can say white supremacy and all this stuff, but look at black crime. Like, there's people out there who still think black on black crime is a myth. But the issue is, it's not just black on black crime; it's total crime.
Oh yeah,
We're still, if it's 48 million of us, and we commit over half the crime. That's an issue.
right.
I don't like that. You know, if we were 50% and we committed half, like, that'd be crazy. If it and I don't know, it's just like, it's too much. It's too much for me to not say that it's only white supremacy. Part of it is personal responsibility. Now, I'm
Well,
not
yeah,
a perfect
and
person.
Dinesh D'Souza of all people actually made an argument that I agreed with once when he said that if you look at like say Asians, right, when they come over here, what they do is like they move here, they're poor as shit. They start like a business, like a grocery store or something. They work their ass off fucking every day. They make just enough money for their kid to go to college and they can go and be a doctor, and they move up on the economic scale. And then then that doctor has kids and they send them to a better college, and like there's a mobility there. And the same thing
Yeah.
with Indians, a lot of Indians. Like, so
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, so
Oh yeah.
the question is like, why hasn't that happened with black people? Why
And
is it
and
there this stagnancy?
and in this
It,
community, you have well, look, you have the marriage to women have married themselves to welfare. The welfare state is really big. And actually, some people say, I've always thought that, or Thomas Sowell, the
I was about to
economist.
drop his name.
Oh, were you? Yeah, dude, he's fantastic. When he said, I think it was him or Walter Williams, they said it doesn't make any sense, right? And actually, the irony is, black people complain, but actually, we were actually brilliant in the past. We've actually done better than people realize, and black people
Right.
don't even know that. See, that's the thing. It's like we had better homes and traditional homes during the like Jim Crow era than now. We had smarter kids. Like, everybody wasn't like, people always get deluded by movies, and they show you a hood in the 60s. It's like in the 50s. Like, yeah, but black people were like, they didn't speak Ebonics all day. Black people were very well spoken, just like any other person.
You
Like,
should
you
have
could
like
speak
fucking Curtis Mayfield, man, like or like all the soul singers. They're so like fucking like dapper and like they're well
yeah.
spoken and smart and shit, and then like very intelligent fucking people.
Yeah, they knew about the world. They went to
Yeah,
France, and
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
They went to fucking
these people,
Paris.
yeah. Yeah, people like really knew, and the issue is like 40s, 50s, 60s, and the issue is like, white supremacy was always there, and it was harsher then than now, and they took it, and they still kind of kept going. But I think the welfare state really killed a lot of things because it split up the family. Because welfare was straight up like the law. They came in knocking on their door and saying, "We'll give you welfare and give you more money than you guys make, but you can't have a man in the house." That's straight up left. That's communist.
I mean, that's
That's
like the hard
totalitarian.
that
Totalitarian.
yeah. The only that's the only solution I've ever heard that black fatherlessness is the only answer that I've heard that's been given for
Well, and
this.
also values. So like, the black church plays a problem because like they still kind of have a, like, the white man is the devil. It's like, no, you can still do for yourself if you think mobily, and you think, and also just, and I hate to say it, dude, the indoctrination of the cycle of that culture, and also like, we never gave up the drugs.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
we just never gave it
the
up.
Black Church I think is a lot better than say like Black Lives Matter because I mean
Oh
on
yeah, sure,
yeah I mean like
yeah.
I'm a fucking journalist in Louisiana, dude, and like they're the only line of support for a lot of fucking crime that happens in
Well,
like
well,
black neighborhoods, you know.
well. The black churches care, but the issue is like, it's hard to get people to be like they're at church, like on Saturday. There's some people that are, they're at the strip club, or they're the bodyguard at the
Right.
strip club, or there's a guy who's, he got to sell a little weed on the side and he work at McDonald's or something, and he goes to church the next day, right? The issue is like we want it to where I mean I'm not necessarily that religious, but like why is it that the crack epidemic happened in the 80s, 90s, and it's like now, and it's like why is the language still that our blackness has to be connected to like the idea of ghetto. Like it's
Right.
still it's like a almost like a philosophical thing. Like
Yeah, if you're a middle class black person, there's almost like an identity crisis, I feel like.
yeah, dude, there is, man. Like there is, and it's like you get along with blacks, but then you don't feel. I feel bad because I feel more comfortable around white people now
Right.
because of how I think, and I know if I don't want to say something wrong in public and be like, and that's what thankfully I'm into sports, so I can always talk about sports. And
Yeah.
I pretend I don't like politics. I mean, if someone brings up politics, I'll talk about it. But if any of the black people that I know like knew that I was like just researching and looking what the alt right thinks, I'm not gonna join the alt right. I
Right.
can't because right. But I sympathize with some of their
Oh, you'd be their
ideals.
fucking golden boy, dude.
Actually, I
They
probably
would prop you up.
Yeah, I probably would because I'm like I'm not, I'm a civic nationalist, but I side with you, right?
Exactly.
But the issue is like black people, we still haven't grasped like how to get rid of the bad ideas that make up the stereotype of black, like without embracing them. Like we have to no longer embrace like okay, for example, I'll say it this way: in a parallel universe, if Obama gets voted in, like people from the '60s, if they knew Obama got voted in, they would do a cleansing of black people. They'd be like, okay, he's the president. This is what this means. If you're selling drugs, you're no longer black. If you're a gang member, you are ousted. We will tell the police on. We will call the police on you. We will turn you the fuck in when you least suspect it because the president is black. It's our time now. If we get smart, we are in suits and we go through these shitty schools together, like in a almost even fascist manner. Because it might as well be if 95% of one race voted for one guy. Tell me that's not like Mein Führer. That's real nationalism.
Right.
A bunch of black people voted for the black guy. They had to, right?
Yeah.
But when he's not going by literal, he only embodies your blackness by pictures and memes and like how cool he is in Black Love. And obviously, I hate to say it, hey, Michelle Obama, she is really the black. Like Michelle Obama is black. She is an African American woman. She is the antithesis of it in the sense because she comes from Chicago.
Right.
Right. So like her, I've always thought too. Like there's a big thing there. And and there's a big thing too. You got to remember, black women needed a Michelle in the sense, but at the same time, she had that level of celebrity too. Like she's done some really good things, but like it was still very I don't know, the mannerisms. It's like they have to do the booyah and they have to be like cool. Like it's almost like they're going out of their way to be like so black.
Right,
and everybody and all
virtue signal to a certain extent.
A little bit, yeah. And I think there are some black people like me that were questionable. But now in the black world, they're the Hoteps, right? They call them the Hotep, the Afrocentric, and that's crazy that you have to have a divide like that's and stuff like that. It's like we shouldn't for a populace to only have what 12% of the country, we shouldn't be like so split still. And drugs, like I'm sorry, but like rappers shouldn't be idols anymore. Right, like it's preposterous.
Well,
now.
I mean,
and not all rappers,
because...
but like some parts of hip hop need to be like erased. Like I'm sorry, like and actually,
I love trap.
We love
dude.
it.
I can't.
But we love it. See, but look, we love it. We all listen to it still. I listen to. I don't listen to it that much actually.
But I'm like, okay, I've had these arguments to myself, and like I came to a conclusion like I didn't like because it's so fucking conservative. Because if you look at like the fucking or the preponderance of drugs and also fatherlessness in the black community. Yeah. The answer to both of those, the source and the origin for both of those is the sexual revolution in the 60s. And so
that was fair point. Yeah, that's right.
And a lot of fucking people don't want to do that because if you actually want to actually make the situation better, you maybe have to start introducing the idea to not just the black community, the entire community, that maybe having sex with as many people as you like isn't necessarily the best thing because it dilutes it makes the future generations worse,
Yeah, because and actually,
that logically makes sense, but I mean, I don't fucking like it.
Well, see, and this issue, and this is where you get down to like those IQ and the race genetics and stuff like that, right? People say like the preservation of your race. The irony is, it's actually not really racist to say that because you were actually born that race. Right? I think for the thing is when you direct hate,
Yeah.
like I always think about it this way, like the alt right, their biggest mistake is they should have they should have been like instead of doing like why anti-white like when they say white genocide, they lose people because the word genocide is connected to the Holocaust and people look at the Holocaust a certain way. The majority of people.
Right.
Now there are people on the alt right that are obviously deniers. Some of them are skeptics. There's a big skeptic community in the alternative world, and they're not necessarily deniers, but they think the numbers are skewed or something. And then, but then, like when the alt right and white nationalists use alt white genocide, people just say genocide. That's racism, Hitler, Nazis, and then it's like trigger words. That's how the
Yeah.
liberals see it. And I think part of it is like if the alt right went with like instead of this like we want to do ethno states and IQ testing because we think we're smarter than blacks but not as smart as Asians, because that's how they sometimes end up sounding, because they forget like
They're so
how
fucked.
I
They're
think.
so fixated on IQ. Like I don't fucking understand it. It's like
Okay, and here's the irony.
I don't give a
Say
fuck
they
about
get their
IQ.
well, the issue is like they think it's like genial. So their issue is, and I keep telling these people, I write on Twitter sometimes. I'll tell them, I say, hey man, you want their ethno state? That's fine, but you have to understand like you can't have a bunch of 120s telling another 120 that they should build the bridge in their ethno state. That 120 is a 120. He's just as smart as the Einstein guy right next to you. You guys are going to be debating all the time of what culture is going to be like, how your
Yeah.
political system is going to be. Like, you want to IQ test, you want all these smart people. How are you going to delegate jobs? Like, are you going to try to have an ethno state that still keeps the Bill of Rights? Like, how does that work? Like, you're gonna have to make a new state, a new flag, a new constitution. It can't be just like this eugenical perfect world, because
Yeah.
you're gonna run into issues of like, I mean, like which white is the best white? Can a Johnny, like, a guy who's for the Confederacy isn't really gonna get along with a National Socialist? Like, that's just and like, don't look at it just white as white. Like, I tell people also too, it's like what you're saying. We'll go back to black people. I think the father issue is big, and I think that's sometimes what I see that I'm jealous of. Like, I'm jealous of like black people that are like super 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 religious and Baptist, because they do hold on to those traditional values that keep the family intact. But the issue is it's harder and harder to be that way and also liberal at the same time, because that's in small spurts. Like, because you can't be like a normal libertarian. People are just like, are you neoliberal? Are you for the cause or not? And
Yeah.
like, you have people that are in between that are getting lost. And the issue is it's not that many blacks. But the good thing is we still have like a generation or so that can still be like, we can get together as blacks and be like, get into. But the issue is it's not going to be that many. That's the thing. Like, we're not going to have a great reformation. And the reason why there's still too many like issues with racial. Like, I hate to say it, but blacks, we care about race the most. Like, people, I mean, I don't per se. I mean, I know how to observe it and I can like sympathize, but like black people are really racist. And so like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's a jambalaya thing with being
Well, I
black,
mean,
because
it's the
it's a
weird thing
lot
about
of
America.
issues actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's the weird thing about America that race is entirely fixed into ideologies. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never seen like a person be more racist than like a white social justice warrior woman who
right,
meets a black person who's maybe libertarian or conservative, and she calls like an Uncle Tom or some shit like that. Like it's fucking crazy.
right.
They think they can do because
Yeah,
they're not with the cause.
right. Yeah, and that's
Hmm.
the thing. It's so many, and actually, what you said too. You're talking about like the revolution in the '70s. I do think feminism has played a large fucking role. It's played This third wave feminism is unlike any other. I mean, just some of the articles that you see, the way they, and actually a lot of black men do feel like feminism kind of ruined it, because it was like, is it feminism for black women, or is it like, do black women want to just be like Black Lives Matter? Because there's some black women that are like, Black Lives Matter isn't even for men. Like, I've met women that are like that.
Yeah.
And then, but like, the issue is it's like we don't have any kind of real sub political identity that everybody can get behind. That's the issue. Like, blacks are still split, and it's we're black women have been swallowed by some bits of feminism in a mode where it's like they tell you you can be independent. You're a woman. You don't need a man. He is a part of the patriarchy.
Right.
Like, because he's a man. And then that's why you get like MGTOW and all that stuff, and they reflect. And but the issue is too is like, how did it all start? See, like that's like, I mean, do you believe in a grand conspiracy?
Of what?
But that's the thing. See, it's so tough because what is it? Is it purely just political? Like, say, I don't mean like there is no say there's like no Illuminati, there's no reptilians. I mean, I don't believe in that.
Right.
But I'm saying, like say all there's no conspiracy, but the one conspiracy is like a globalist collectivist, like they want a UN New World Order kind of thing.
No, I mean,
Because
I
like
believe there are people acting in their own self-interest. That's
right,
pretty much how
right.
everyone acts. And some people who are in certain positions of power act in ways that are very fucking not conducive to the rest of the society.
Exactly. And so like I kind of feel like it's like that way, but I don't think it's like a giant like cabal of like 20 guys. Like I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like a bunch of guys in cloaks with like an owl, like the owl statue
Yeah,
and some fucking right. Like I
Alex
don't think
Jones
it's like
fighting
that.
them.
Yeah, right. That shit like an Alex. I don't think it's
No
like that.
fatality.
But at the end of the day, I've always thought that those people who do hold power, they do shift like how people can live, and I've always thought that like how you live is like what do you say when you how you live? It's like how you eat, how you receive information. What do you think is good? What do you think is bad? Like in terms of like what's good for you for food wise, how do you look at things? And like black people like don't look at like sometimes a lot of black people, not all of us, they don't look at like chain of command in society in terms of like how capitalism affects like how you got your job, like how people I don't know, it's like we understand capital, but only through black capital. So if we see Denzel, if we see LeBron, we still use these entertainers as like our gems to get there. And like not saying like people don't want to be like, like smart or be rocket scientists, but like black men have been dropping out of school more recently. Black women have an uptick of joining. Like the stats just show that like college hasn't worked out for some blacks, right? So what are they looking at? Like, is it you have this dream of being like a SoundCloud rapper, but you're in college? Like, do you not want to like? Are we not good enough to do? Are we not getting into like STEM programs
Yeah,
and
I
STEM
haven't
jobs?
seen the statistic on that, but that's an interesting question.
Yeah, like and so yeah, and when I saw this podcast, this guy was talking about like black wealth and like economy. He's like, and I hate to say it, it really is the culture. He had a video where he said like the hip hop lottery is over. Like I really think like these young kids, these internet kids, these Vine kids, they kind of still they're too much on the social media in terms of what I see from black people. Like I'm sorry, but okay, look,
We all are, to be
if on my
fair.
top, well, we all are, but like I feel like I feel like white liberals and just like white people have a ability to like turn that off first, that mode off, and be like priority straight. I gotta go to A to B. I gotta like I have this identity, but like I still have to go to work and like think about work for hours all the time. But
Yeah.
then like black people take it to like when you're at work, your blackness and your whiteness, is smothering me. Your attitude is like it's too much because and that's what I see. Like this thing is like I wish I wasn't lying, but you see it because look at the Pepsi commercial. It's like all these black people are so mad about the Pepsi commercial. They're in an outrage, but they don't look at PepsiCo. So if you look up PepsiCo, you'll know that PepsiCo owns like Frito Lay, they own Taco Bell, they own KFC, they own this, that, Aquafina, they own they own all this shit, and like you want them to donate money to BLM because you think it's hurting like the black race. It's like they apologize and it was a bad ad, make fun of it because you have the freedom to,
Yeah.
but like calling for corporations to say like do our bidding for our race, that's really weird, man.
Right.
Like a lot of people don't like that's very like a total. It reminds me of like a sci-fi movie. It reminds me of like a sci-fi movie or like some movie where
Invasion of
like
the Body Snatchers or some
Firefly,
shit. Yeah.
Invasion, or like you ever seen that movie by Carpenter with Rudy Piper and he put on the They Live. You ever seen They
Oh
Live?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of They Live, and it's like when they put in their lib, like when you put on the glasses, you see these people are just like crazy reactionary people. But the issue, okay, now when you get back to the black thing, I'm sorry for rambling again. I get like that, but
Yeah, I like how we went from fucking Syria to race.
right, of course, always raised with the blacks. No, but I guess it's about the black plight, right? And I think like okay, so the stats that are true, I know for a fact, are like 70% divorce rate for black couples, right?
Really?
And then Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy? That's fucked up, right? It's so high. Out of
What's the
48
incarceration? I
million?
thought the incarceration rate was like 70%. Well, not 70%. Like
No, it was
6,
like no, the incarceration was like 9 or like it's
9%.
like
Okay.
it's or like maybe 9 or 8. I know it's under 10.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I'm
think it's
mixing
under
up
10.
stats. I researched
But
this
no,
like a
no.
year ago.
No. I mean, there's some new updates. There's something to change. But then there's also just like little stuff that like people don't understand. Is like, and that's why people are these economic guys are speaking up and saying like you need to start thinking pragmatic. Okay, like here's what black people really should do: trade schools, trade schools, trade schools, electricians, fucking carpentry,
Yeah.
trade school, trade school, trade school, trade school. Get into fucking labor. And that's I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. Build the wall. I'm sorry. No, like I'm building the wall so brothers can build walls. Like that's what I want. I want like in a literal sense, right? And part of it is like, identity. There are black men looking for those jobs. There are black women looking for those jobs. But when the liberal agenda of this like free speech, like it's okay to. I mean, okay, look at sexuality. Sexuality gets tied into it too. A lot of black people, a lot of black men are. You remember you said anti-gay. These Christians, they're anti-transgender. They're anti-binary code half toaster man. They don't want that shit.
Yeah.
They believe in two genders, and I, to a degree, I do too. But for example, like I think same sex, like gay and lesbian, I actually
Yeah.
think that's where it ends. I do not, and I think if you want to dress up as a woman and be a man, that's fine. But when you dress up as a woman and you have your beard and you have like lipstick on, I just can't take you seriously. And it's like you have a mental disorder. I don't think you're insane, but I think you're just not serious. I think you're actually like taking advantage of people who like some of those who do feel like they are trans persons, like
Right.
genuinely. But I think a lot of it is just I hate to say it. I think a lot of it is like, dude, you're an attention freak. You're an attention freak because we've gone through the stage of celebrity and we're at the pinnacle of information and everybody wants to know everybody and everybody wants to be heard. Like sometimes I just think it's too far, man. 31
Yeah.
genders and like, come on, bro. Like you guys are fucking. This is too much.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry. It almost makes me want to cry because it's like, and that's so sad. Like I won't cry off saying, I could watch an ISIS video and not feel bad for somebody, but I'm cry at saying like,
Yeah.
the kid
I
being
always
like,
think that wow, it's
I'm a
interesting we
girl just
discovered
because I'm four. Like,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I,
yeah,
I,
I'm
I thought
sorry.
it
Go
was
ahead.
interesting that we discovered like 90 fucking genders like in 2017. So like in 1500 AD there were like 90 genders.
Yeah.
And then they just people like there were just all these people who wanted to be a fucking non-binary whatever and they just didn't have the balls to say it.
Actually, that's a fair point. That actually is a fair point because it's kind of like what does that mean? Like, does it? And I look at it and I think, is there a cabal of like Marxist professors that have allowed this to happen? Because like if you think about it, if you look at some of these older feminists that have been like they do speeches and like Camille Paglia and Christina Hoff Sommers, they've been doing these speeches and they were feminists in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And they have books. They're accredited. They've been professors and like
Yeah, I know
and
there.
oh, you do? Okay, cool. I'm happy you do. That's good. Thank God. Okay, cool. So like they, I realize that like they've pointed it out that there's something wrong like in the collegiate system. Like academia has totally changed, and that's a big, big, big thing. Like people forget. And what scares me is like as much as I'm people like pitch ideas and say, you know what, Thomas, I think that they're Marxists, and sometimes I do think it's like closet Marxists, like in the '60s that like they knew that the freedom revolution was gonna fail, so like I'm just gonna be a professor, and like when I make $400,000, there'll be a lot of us that are like me, and
Right.
we'll be liberal arts, we'll be talking about arts, and fuck, like we can police your emotions for you. You need a safe space. And the irony is, it's like that was the literal opposite of what their generation was fighting for. Like when they were growing up, these professors, if they were in the 60s and 70s and they were communists and they like didn't like it, that means they just didn't get along when they're in their 20s and shit. But
Right.
now they're in their 60s, they were able to like and this is kind of a conspiracy theory, but they're able to like kind of be like kind of push, like if a man winks at you, a man male gazing at you, that is rape. Like we're at that
Yeah.
point. We're like women were like, look at what women did with Mike Pence. All Mike Pence said is, I don't go to dinner with women that aren't my wife. Like that's
It's
is an
totally
evil
reasonable.
pedophile. That is very reasonable. That's a very, very like I was like,
It's
are they
like,
really
yeah, okay.
thinking out? Like, okay, cool, that's fine. Like, don't do that. It's okay, whatever. It's your wife.
But
I'm not fighting her.
that's honestly why like, I feel like this whole social justice warrior thing like is not going to win. Like there's like the culture war, whatever. Like they're not going to lose this because they're churning these people out at universities like in mass. Like there are all these people coming out of being like indoctrinated in this shit. Like I went to college, I was fucking indoctrinated in it. Then I like got a fucking YouTube account and started like thinking differently, and also got a job as a journalist and looked at government and shit. And I was like, oh wait, this doesn't line up with what I used to believe. But most of them stay in the fucking university their whole life, and they don't have any exposure to any other ideas. So they just like stay with this fucking ideology that is completely at odds with the rest of America. And the scary thing is that they are in charge of the institutions of learning, that there is this huge divide between the institutions of learning and the rest of fucking America. I mean, that's why like a blue collar dude is totally has the right to believe that the universities are bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, and they're expensive. And that's another thing too.
Trade schools. You said it.
Yeah, dude, trade school's the way to go. And my job is my job. And actually, so funny. So funny who actually was really smart. Of course he's smart. He's Warren Buffett. He said a quote. He said, "People should start getting jobs in like plumbing and construction." Like I think he was onto something there. And you know what I think? Okay, you ever heard of Agenda 21?
No.
Okay, so you should look it up someday. Agenda 21, and it's actually at first I thought it was like a conspiracy. I was like, oh, it sounds like a conspiracy, but it's a book that the UN has made on pretty much like sustainable development and climate change, and like a lot of people, and I think that's part of the reason why Hillary was I think that's what Hillary was going to end up going for. Like to mask her warmongering is like climate change and like kumbaya and like feminism. Like I think she was hoping to be like the queen pin, right? But it didn't pan out. And I think that like
if we went to war over climate change, we dodged a crazy fucking timeline. As crazy as this timeline is,
yeah, dude, Hillary would have been bad. People don't even understand.
Yeah, it's a fucking. Yeah. I literally laughed like the entire election night. Like it was just so fucking funny to me.
It was.
They were all just so fucking smug that Hillary had it easy.
It was. I ain't gonna lie. It was kind of a victory of like. It was a victory like as like a normal average American. You don't choose sides quite yet, but you still love America. Like you sat there, like I kind of like that she lost. Like
just the change on all these people's faces.
And like dude, the news they just wrote it, and you could tell they wanted to get a drink. They wanted to drink on camera. They're like slamming on the table, like I can't believe the polls. Like raising their voice, like Jim, don't interrupt. Like they're like, and Van Jones, it was a white lash. Like like it was a white lash. Yeah, and it was funny because like it was like the irony was it was like Hillary's white, bro.
It's two white candidates.
Like Hillary's white. Like what do you mean? But I'm happy that you I'm happy that I'm talking to you about this because a lot of people, whenever I talk about this, most people don't like know these, like I don't know that much about stuff, but I like know how to dive in. Like the fact that Thomas Sowell is awesome. Yeah. But like I'm gonna tell you something right now. I've also been on other hangouts, and like I've been on the hangouts where they are in that liberal world, but they're also like the people who live in 4chan too. Like their ideas like they're more close to like the fake like I am a Antifa exo-extremist environmentalist.
Right.
But the thing is like they're so intellectual that it's actually dangerous.
Yeah, like I make sure to only stay on YouTube for a certain amount of hours because people take this shit way too seriously. Even guys like the skeptics like Sargon and them, like they start to take the anti-SJW thing so fucking seriously, and they're like, this is fucking war. And like it's
entertaining, but
like I'm an actual journalist, like it's for like a small fucking paper, but like I actually see like city council meetings and shit that actually matters, and I'm like, this is fun to talk about, but it's just for fucking fun,
Yeah, and actually, hey, more power to them. I think now, but here's the issue: what you just said is still right, though. I think as a journalist, like, what's going to happen? People like you are actually going to go back to the what's that movie with Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford, where they're journalists during Watergate? That movie. the
Yeah,
President's Men or whatever, or the
all the
President's
President's
something.
Men. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like it's gonna be. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, well, you can actually be like on the forefront of like the new wave of like real investigative journalists because
Yeah.
like I know you sigh because it's tough because like it's a fucked up world now. The way news is, fake news is like kind of ruined a lot of it. And actually,
Yeah,
hey,
I fucking hate the media. I hate the
yeah,
industry that I work in, honestly, because I mean local
yeah,
I do local news, and and mainstream news are totally two fucking different animals. Like the way that they
yeah,
just
that's
do
very true.
stories is just not the way that I would do a
Yeah,
story, because they're
well,
so
and
fucking,
actually,
like I mean
it's
like
just
an
murder,
old school.
accidents, murder, kidnapping. It's like if it's local,
Yeah.
it's like they got a council meeting, and then it's like, but
But yeah,
then at the same time,
it's literally looking at budgets and like
yeah.
deciphering fucking agenda items and shit like that, you know. But like
But the irony is like that's
it's
real though. That's
yeah,
the
it's important.
realest as it get. It's the most
It's the
real
most important
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
That's why like I
And
fucking
people,
harp on
yeah.
local news all the fucking time. But and that's like the biggest problem with young people is that they just don't give a fuck about local news. If they did, like,
Oh yeah. That's
and
a
that's why I
fair
mean that's why it's
point.
dying, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. And actually, no, I saw a tweet, and it said YouTube, Google, Facebook, was it just all the internet giants like Apple. It was like all these companies exist like in like the internet world. They don't
Yeah,
exist in like real property.
right.
Like Apple does because they give you products, but like Google, Facebook, you can't. It's not like you can reach into your computer and whip out a book and Facebook is sitting in your hands. It's always through the medium of the internet, and like people forget like that being the wave of the future. And I was like if you, it's just like control through certain things. Okay, for example, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a conspiracy theory that I know that could be really true, because and only because, and I don't like I'm 50-50 on him, but Julian Assange.
Yeah,
Julian
me too.
Assange, Julian Assange, as much as people hate on him, and as much as I can't tell if he's for Russia or not, he's one of my heroes. I hate he's a fucking hero to me.
I'm
But
conflicted on him, but yeah, go on.
well, he's a hero, but I also hate him. So and at the same time.
Right.
And but the issue is like there was a stream that he did during, I think it was a stream during the president's election. Yeah, I think it was a stream during the election, I think. And he was in this whole, I think it was in Ecuador or wherever he was at, maybe
Yeah.
Venezuela,
Venezuela.
yeah. Yeah, and he's in this office, and they're talking about presidency, and they're talking about, oh no, it was Brexit. It was a Brexit. That's right. It was when Brexit came out, because yeah, that's right. It was Brexit, and he was like, yeah, I mean, you know how Silicon Valley is, and I remember like almost verbatim, like his gist. He was like Silicon Valley and like all the internet guys, like they want a VR world. Like that's why you see all this VR shit coming out, where like
Right.
the world outside of your job. Do you ever watch a show called Black Mirror?
Oh yeah, I watched the first two seasons. Not that I haven't watched
Okay,
the latest one.
well, there's an episode that represents what the future could be like. I think like almost like a Simpsons told us kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, but no, but like, and he was saying, and I don't know how he came. He was like talking about Brexit and talking about technology, and he kind of rambled on, and he kind of, you ever see someone like look up at people when they're talking off screen, and they
Yeah.
kind of look with like, I know this sounds weird for me saying this, so it's almost
Right.
like that was the first time he even told his friends. And like, and it was a live stream. It's like just a quick video thing. And he said like, yeah, these Silicon Valley guys, like Apple, all those guys, like they really do want like a fucking Tron neon video game, like VR world where like that's what everybody's job is. And like everybody's doing computers, you're logged in. Like you are in the
Mhm.
matrix this time. And your outside life is like, yeah, you get food, you get stuff like that, but like that's why they want driverless cars. So like that way that you can be on your phone all the time and not have to drive.
Yeah, so
Right?
Silicon Valley
Like
is super
like
fucked
it's
up. Like there was a story I read like the other day. These guys are like literally trying to find like how to live forever. They're trying to look like ways for immortality. And the fact that like
really?
there's this
Oh.
closed community of people who are like who are seriously thinking about this shit, about
Uh-huh.
how the future of society is going to go, while everyone else just like the plebes just go about their little lives. It's so fucking disgusting.
Yeah. And the issue is like the problem is we forget that they're a real threat because we see people still see it as like a nerdish kind of thing. Like we know it's important, you make a lot of money, and but then like there's like prostitution rings. Like these guys are closer to the Illuminati than anybody else
Oh
these
yeah,
days, really. I mean, and also the irony is too. That's another thing. The way that we put them on pedestals, like
They're
Bill
fucking
Gates
priests.
and
Like they are what priests were like in the medieval period, basically.
they pretend to be like, yes, we can lead this to the future, but like
They
the
have this
behind the
secret
closed doors,
language. Yeah,
behind the closed doors, they're just like pricks, they're like
exactly.
assholes.
Yeah,
Sometimes, like, Bill Gates had to step on dreams.
he
Steve
was a
Jobs stepped on
savage.
people's dreams. Yeah, dude, like these guys, like Bill Gates was getting sued for monopoly. Like people don't realize that shit. Like, yeah, he's a big philanthropist, but but check this out. What happens? Beyonce. What do black people look at Bill Gates as? See, we see him as Beyonce said she gonna be the next Bill Gates. Well, I want to be the next Bill Gates, and that's not just the hood nigga. That's the college girl at Howard.
Right.
That's the black girl who goes to UCLA. Like who is a barista and she's thinking of, she's dating the bearded Muslim who's also a communist or some shit,
Yeah.
who's also at UCLA. But they're all under a nice cloak of what we call neoliberalism, right?
Right.
Like, and that's the thing. Like that's the thing. Like people take those little the news. You went back to it. The local news isn't watched. So if they're watching social media, it's what's trending, man. You see, some guy sees the thing about Syria. Well, I heard we bombed Syria. But then on one end of Twitter, you have a guy talking about like the eloquence of the Syrian war in 1994 calculates exactly why we did this 100 years from, right? Like the spectrums are there. Everybody's having the conversation. But the issue is it's all through like the medium now, this like kind of like keeping the world close at your fingertips, but you can't really mobilize and do a real revolution because you got to see what's trending first.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. It's weird. It's like it's so weird, and I don't know. It's crazy though. It's crazy though. It's crazy to see that.
It is. All right, man.
And
My computer's about to die, so I'm about to.
Yeah, man.
Call it
Yeah, it's
quits.
getting late. Hey,
I
I'll
appreciate
follow you, man. I'll follow you.
Yeah, dude. You're on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I think right now though, to be honest, I may just like I may stop doing it for a while. I might get back on YouTube and like just look at Hangouts for a while because I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I know this is kind of weird to say this, but like I'm gonna take a break from like weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Cause
Right.
like I don't know, like Twitter, I'll look at stuff and like stuff, but I don't want to like talk to too many people right now because I feel like what I'm seeing on Twitter, like how people are getting banned and how YouTube is doing stuff, like I don't want to say anything. I don't know. I feel like that's very Big Brother.
It's very weird right now on both mediums, especially with all the demonetization stuff on YouTube.
You can agree, like it is weird, like it's sketchy out there. Like I mean, it's not like they're following you and listening to our conversation. Like if you're on Twitter, you can get easily banned. You can get flagged. I'm just gonna take a 2-week break. But what I'll do is when I get back on and I'm more active again, I'll just write you on YouTube. So
okay, sounds good. I mean, I'm always looking for people to do Google Hangouts with. So
yeah, and next time I'll try to be sober and not ramble on because I'm not sober right now. Now, so
okay.
yeah. When I'm sober, I'm much. Oh, okay, cool. When I'm much sober, I'm much more like, not more composed. But anyway, I'll see you later, man.
All right, see ya.
All right.